Welcome to McMahon Stadium in Calgary, where a hard rain has fallen for much of the day, and where tonight the BC Lions try to end Calgary's reign as the league's unbeaten team. To do that, Danny Barrett will have to beat the man he was traded for, two-time MVP Doug Flutie. It's the top two passers in the league. Defensive gurus will try to contain them. Dave Ritchie of the BC Lions and Wally Buono of the Calgary Stampeders face the task next on the CFL Live. Lions quarterback Danny Barrett, looking to lead his team from worst to first. Barrett has already broken the CFL single-game passing record, and now he looks to lead the Lions to a place few thought they'd be, first place in the West.
Tonight's game is key in the sense that we're probably going to face each other in the playoffs later this year. And it's important for us to come out and set the tempo early against these guys.
He is Calgary Stampeder quarterback Doug Flutie. His defending Grey Cup champion team is 8-0. Flutie is on pace to set the CFL single-season passing record. And he also may do what no player has ever done before, win 3 consecutive MVP awards.
It's going to be a very intense game. It's a playoff-type atmosphere, big build-up, the whole bit. The team that doesn't make mistakes and kill themselves will win the game.
Tonight, 2 Western gunslingers shoot it out. The CFL Live on TSN is brought to you by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And by Mark's Work Warehouse, closed at work. They've had a little bit of everything today in Calgary. Rain, lightning, hail, and now with a temperature at 9 degrees, they're expecting a blizzard of footballs and a great shootout on TSN. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to McMahon Stadium in the CFL Live. If this was a Hollywood script, it'd probably go something like Jurassic Park comes to Wally World. In BC, they call themselves the Old Lions, with 13 players over the age of 30. And tonight, facing a team that traditionally gets under fast starts under Wally Buono, one tonight that could be a part of a record-breaking season for the Calgary Stampeders. A great matchup tonight, and to talk more about it, here is John Wells.
Gord, the BC Lions can make a legitimate run at top spot in the West with a victory over the Stampeders. If not, Calgary will likely run away and hide with the CFL's Western Division title. Well, the Stampeders have won 8 straight games and are unbeaten in 93. The BC Lions are coming on strong. They have won 4 in a row, and Leaf, they've averaged 43 points in those 4 straight wins.
Well, John, there's no doubt the BC Lions are the surprise team of 1993. I think you have to think back to a year ago, and the BC Lions had not won a game in 8 tries. This year, at this point, they're a tidy 6-2 mark. A lot of credit obviously goes to their new management and, of course, the players they put on the field. Tonight for them, the ultimate test. They play the Calgary Stampeders, undefeated, tough at home. And for the BC Lions, hey, they know they're better. They know they're a much improved team. But just how good are they? Well, the players and coaches will have a much better idea about 3 hours from now.
We'll find out tonight as the Lions and the Stampeders go head-to-head, the 2 top teams in Canadian football so far this season. And this should be the game of the week. From Calgary, CFL Live on TSN.
Play.
Welcome back to McMahon Stadium. Tonight, a showdown between the top 2 teams in the CFL, the Lions and the Stampeders. This is Wiggins on the return. And he's hit solidly down about the 30-yard line. What do you see as the difference in this one tonight, Leaf?
Well, John, I really think it's the secondary, the BC Lions. You know, coming into this game, they have given up the most yardage per game of any secondary in the league. And when you go against a Doug Flutie, who leads the league in passing, I think that is the difference. Can that secondary improve tonight for the BC Lions?
Tonight's starting lineups brought to you by Speedy Auto Glass. Don't take a chance. Take your auto glass repairs and replacement to Speedy Auto Glass. First and 10, Stampeders with Doug Flutie at the controls, beginning at the 32-yard line. Flutie has Will Moore, and he's stopped short of the first down by James Wetz. Calgary quarterback Doug Flutie directs the most proficient passing offense in the CFL. He has passed for a leading 23 TDs in the backfield. Versatile veteran Kevan Jenkins, Andy McVeigh, missing from the receiving corps, Alan Pitts. But these guys are pretty good in their own right.
An offensive line that does a terrific job blocking and protecting Doug Flutie. Only 7 sacks that offensive line has given up in 8 games, and that is an incredible number.
The gain was 8. This is 2nd and 2. Flutie looks to the far side and then back over the middle. No catch. Derek Crawford was the intended receiver, number 83. So quickly, the BC Lion defense holds. Flutie heads to the sidelines and into a punting situation for Calgary. Turner is deep for Martino's kick. Martino averaging 41.9 yards, as long as 76.
Number 21, the lone man back to the Leo.
Martino across the 30 to get this one away. It is not deep. Turner at his 30-yard line, and he ran into the first tackler. Upfield, Mark Dubé for the Calgary Stampeders. Lions quarterback Danny Barrett has been hot 2 weeks ago. He set a single-game passing record with 601 yards. Returning to the Lions backfield for this one, John Volpe alongside Sean Millington. Starting at wide receiver, speedster Lonnie Turner, and Darren Flutie inside Matt Clark and Mike Trevathan.
And after 8 games, I have not changed my opinion. I think this is the best offensive line in the CFL right now, and a good run-blocking line. I think they could have some success running against the Stampeders tonight.
First and 10, the Lions beginning at the 36. Barrett swings it out for Millington. And that was well read by the Stampeder defense, led by Sreko Zizakovic. On defense, the Stampeders are solid up front with a matched pair of Johnsons on the ends. Hasselback and Zizakovic are inside. The linebackers Finley Pope and, of course, Alondra Johnson.
And a major change in the secondary this week. Junior Thurman is out with the ruptured Achilles, and that means Kenton Leonard moves out to the corner, and Carl Anthony on the other corner. Gerald Vaughn gets to start tonight at inside safety.
Previous play, a gain of 1, 2nd and 9. Barrett has time, and then looks for running room. There was nothing there. Eric Johnson put the stop on Danny Barrett that time, so both offenses have had a couple of plays and then got ready to kick it away.
Well, usually when you've had a really hard rainstorm and the field is soaked as it is out there right now, the receivers have the advantage, but really on the first series for either club, it looked as though the receivers were really running their patterns gingerly downfield, and both secondaries had great coverage. Coverage forced that sack on Danny Barrett, and they have to obviously give up the football.
Is at the 25.
Here's the veteran Lou Pasaglia standing back at his 21. Low kick by Pasaglia. Bouncing to Wiggins, and he draws penalty markers at the 38-yard line. A 38-yard punt by Pasaglia. And we'll sort out the penalty when we return to McMahon Stadium. No score so far, but it's early on the CFL Live from McMahon.
As a longtime assistant coach in the CFL, Dave Ritchie has put together some of the best Ds in the league. So before this game, we asked him, how do you stop Doug Flutie?
Well, we get down every night on our knees and pray that we can stop him. The guy's phenomenal. He starts back 6 yards and drops back further and throws it off his back foot and completes him. He's a good football player. He's made the other parts of this team come up. And to go along with a defense that they've been getting together for 7 years, you know, since Wally's been here. So it's something that we have to contend with. We're just starting to climb a mountain, and I just hope we can get to the top of it, get to the playoffs, and show that we have a good football team also.
Interesting. He never really said how to stop Doug Flutie.
No, he had no clue, perhaps.
You know what? I think that the BC Lion defense, they're a pretty aggressive front seven, like to do a lot of blitzing, play a lot of man behind it. But I think for tonight, they should try and cross up Flutie and place a lot more zone, maybe 60-70%, and try and frustrate Flutie. Make him throw underneath and complete 8-10 passes to score some points and kind of change the pace. We'll see what they do here in the first quarter.
Keevan Jenkins got the call off tackle to the left, and he's across the 45 for maybe 3 yards. Stopped by Kent Warnock. Pretty solid group up front. Warnock, McCready, and Scribner, the non-import group for the BC Lions.
Yeah, I can't remember front three for the last few years that I've been covering the game, starting all Canadians, and that is the case tonight for the BC Lions.
2nd and 7 after the 3 yards picked up by Keevan Jenkins. Flutie from the shotgun to his right. Intended it for Wiggins, number 80. Tight coverage that time from Bruce Plummer, number 29, and a little pressure from Zach Allen over there as well.
Also in there.
A little bit slippery on the turf at McMahon. There was a heavy-duty rainstorm this afternoon.
I see Will Murr working downfield, number 82, and when you go and try and cut off the heels of your shoes on a night like tonight, that's exactly what's going to happen. But the BC Lions, they stayed in his own defense, and they squeezed the lanes down. Flutie really had nobody to throw to there, and I really think that's the key to tonight for them defensively.
Again, 2 plays and a punt. Almost blocked that time. Martino got it away. This is Lonnie Turner for the BC Lions. Not much time to get his speed up to par. 5-yard return. And Raymond Biggs, number 70, led the Stampeder tacklers.
Nice to see Lonnie Turner back in the lineup tonight. He was out for a few weeks, only played 2 games for the BC Lions, but in those 2 games, 7 catches, 132 yards and a touchdown. But what he adds to this receiving core is a tremendous amount of speed. That's why they brought him in. He's about 4'3" in the 40, not a big guy, only about 5'7". But for Danny Barrett, Lonnie Turner has the ability to stretch out a defense in a hurry and open things up underneath for Clark and Trevathan.
And Darren Flutie is the wide receiver on the other side of the field. Fake by Barrett, and he one-hopped it to Lonnie Turner, number 21. Turner in his 3rd game.
2nd down and 10 BC.
Danny Barrett has had a hot hand the last couple of weeks. We saw him against the Toronto Argonauts a couple of weeks back. Break a 40-year-old CFL record for passing yards in one game, 601 yards passing. Rather phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a great night on that occasion, too. Sean Millington, the fullback that night, had 6 catches and had 184 of those 601 yards, so he made a great contribution to that record.
On 2nd and 10, Barrett time looks over the middle and has Turner. The tackle made by Marvin Pope, and it was a pretty hard hit on Turner, a 7-yard gain. So the Lions come up a little short. Turner slightly shaken up, and this Marvin Pope is a pretty solid guy in the middle for Calgary.
Yes, they call him Big Daddy, number 91, Marvin Pope, and when he sees the little guy coming in his territory, he says, "You are going to pay for it," and Big Daddy put a pretty good hit on Lonnie Turner.
He's 2nd on the Calgary Stampeders in tackles with 27 on the season, number 91, Marvin Pope.
I loved it in the paper today. They had a cartoon, and they said when anybody ever comes into the Pope's area, it's like having an audience with the Pope.
Flip Busaglia at his 31. Good charge from Pierce. Bouncing to Crawford. He simply slipped, making his cut, stopped at the 30 after a 2-yard return. No score at McMahon in Calgary. A great game building with the Lions and the Stampeders on CFL Live.
The radio.
Calgary Stampeders off to a great start. They could reach the halfway point unbeaten with a win over BC tonight, but as we talked, BC with a win would make things rather interesting in the race for first.
Yeah, and as you look at the standings, I think for the BC Lions, you know how important this game, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, only a couple of points behind, and they are playing the Sacramento Gold Miners at home tonight at Taylor Field. And for the BC Lions, they know that chances are Saskatchewan may win that game, and if they don't win tonight, they will find themselves tied for 2nd place. So pretty big game here tonight in Calgary. Calgary?
Only the Gold Miners have a losing record in the Western Division of the CFL, and only the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a winning record on the Eastern side.
No, it's interesting. You look at the Calgary Stampeders. Yes, they are 8-0, but their last 5 wins have been against Eastern Conference opponents. Hey, to me, a win is a win, and 8-0 is justified. But of course, everybody around here trying to find something maybe.
Flutie looking for Wiggins. He's got it. Stopped by Bruce Plummer, number 29. Wiggins in behind Plummer. And the Lions had 6 DBs in on that play. Flutie played it perfectly to Brian Wiggins.
And this has really been the problem area for the Lions this year. The reason why they give up the most yardage throughout the secondary per game, it's the inside safeties have struggled. And Brian Wiggins able to get in behind Bruce Plummer. Perfectly thrown ball by Doug Flutie. And we wondered when one of these offenses would open up. Flutie has done it with the long bomb to Wiggins.
44-yard gain, setting the Stampeders up. First down at the Lion 36. Flutie, the shotgun again. Stepping up and throwing out of the cover. Keevan Jenkins made the catch. He stopped short of the first down by Zoc Allen, the middle linebacker, number 44.
Yard line before he stopped by number 44, Zoc Allen.
Flutie hooked up with Wiggins against the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the opening sequence about a week ago, and got a big catch to or a big toss to Wiggins to set up the opening touchdown of a victory over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I'll get it out.
Second down and 3.
7 yards for Jenkins. This is 2nd and 3. Jenkins gets the call. That's good for the first down.
He's down to the 20-yard line.
James West finally stopping Keevan Jenkins. A gain of 9 that time.
Yeah, the BC Lions are lucky that Keevan Jenkins didn't break this. Watch, Sean Flutie just slows him down enough that James West is able to make the tackle from the backside. But that was very close to Keevan Jenkins going the distance.
After Jenkins, gain of 10.
Stampeders first down.
10 at the BC 21.
BC 21-yard line. Flutie fakes one way. Now looks to the other side of the field on target. Will Moore has the catch, and he's wrestled down by Eddie Taylor. Ball squirts loose. Brown picked it up, but the play had been whistled down.
Nice style of offense for Doug Flutie. The fake pitch and then the bootleg out. His receivers have lots of time to work hard on their man-to-man coverage, and Will Moore with a nice pattern on Eddie Taylor works back to the quarterback, and Will Moore picks up where he left off a week ago. He had 2 touchdowns last week against Hamilton in the first 3.5 minutes of the ball game. If you talk to the Calgary Stampeders, John Huffnagel and Flutie, they say this young guy, Will Moore, is going to be the premier star in the league.
Stampeders have their 6-pack of receivers in. McVay is up. Pee-wee Smith is in. Flutie has a man open. It's picked off right on the goal line by Andre Francis. And Francis gets to the 1-yard line.
Ooh, he made
nailed there. Hit by Bruce Covington, I believe. What happened here?
Well, he made a great play, did Andre Francis, and the BC Lions, for a moment, look so vulnerable. Here's the receiver, Smith, right in here, and that's what Flutie sees, the opening. But watch Francis. He sees that somebody has missed their coverage, and he's going to leave his man and come all the way across, and as the ball floats in the air, he will make the interception. But you see how open the Calgary receiver is, and that's what Flutie sees, and that is a heck of a play by Andre Francis to save a touchdown.
Question, illegal block. Number 56 on the defense after the reception. Ball is dead in goal. Penalty applied from the 25. First down, White.
Let's go back and have one more look. But Flutie, he kind of feathers that pass because Crawford is so open initially, and he just simply doesn't see Andre Francis leave his man. But, you know, only a veteran can make that kind of play. He was just aware of what was happening. He saw that someone had blown the coverage. He reacted to it, and what a big turnover that is.
3rd interception of the year for Andre Francis, and just the 5th interception thrown by Doug Flutie.
BC 1st and 10 at the Lion 15.
Well, he saved his team 6 points, 7 points for sure.
Yeah, I would say so. Lions were penalized, and they begin at the 15-yard line. John Volpe gets a couple.
About the 17-yard line.
Harold Hasselbeck in on the tackle, number 95. Volpe back after 4 weeks on the shelf with a broken leg.
really only played a half of one game, and that was against the Toronto Argonauts. And in that game, he had 89 yards when he broke his leg early in the third quarter. But good to have him back. I mean, well documented his rushing abilities and what he can add to this offense.
The gain was 2. It is 2nd and 8. Barrett has it open up in front of him, and he slides for the first down. First down for the Lions, and Barrett carried himself. The ball squirted loose, but the play had been whistled down. It opens up for Danny Barrett at a 15-yard gain.
Well, against a very good cover defense as the Calgary Stampeders are, Danny Barrett may have to do that more than usual tonight. And nice job to recognize quickly that no receivers were open and take off downfield. And when the linebackers of Calgary get that deep drop, I think they are a little vulnerable to Danny Barrett running with the football.
All you have to do is yell Butterfingers, and we'll be handing out.
Still no score at McMahon in Calgary. 5:09 to play in the opening quarter. The Lions have their first down, and they're set up at the BC 32. Barrett for 3 yards that time, so he's run on back-to-back plays. Receivers are well covered.
They really are. That time, the play action and the bootleg to try and allow Darren Flutie to have lots of time to work his pattern against Carl Anthony, but tremendously close coverage forced Barrett to tuck it under his arm and run once again. But you know, it's worth mentioning again, the field is wet, and usually it's an advantage for the receivers, but from my perspective tonight, it looks like the defensive backs are having a pretty easy job covering those receivers on this wet field.
Lions 2nd and 7 at their 35.
John Volpe is on the sidelines for this passing situation on 2nd and 7. Spencer McLennan in. Barrett looks to the near side. McLennan couldn't bring it down. There was another receiver in the territory, Matt Clark. I'm not so sure it wasn't intended for Clark.
I think it really was, and you have to wonder if McLennan and Matt Clark. McLennan doesn't get a lot of playing time, and that's who Danny Barrett went to immediately after the pass was incomplete, and obviously a mistake. 2 receivers in the same area.
Another 3rd down punting situation for Lou Pasaglia, the 18-year veteran of the BC Lions. He has become a precision kicker in later years. He is not getting quite the same distance on the football, but he is very accurate. Pasaglia keeping it low. Rolling by Wiggins. And Wiggins draws a flag near the 35, a 38-yard punt that time. Spencer McLennan a little too close. No score in Calgary so far. This is CFL Live. This has been an interesting battle between Barrett and Flutie since they exchanged teams a season and a half ago. Barrett with 1,813 yards, Flutie with 1,762.
I think you'd have won money if you'd bet somebody on those numbers. You look at the interception totals between the two, only 4 for Barrett, 11 for Flutie, but those are very, very interesting numbers. Danny Barrett obviously with the upper hand in their head-to-head battles.
However, he hasn't beaten Doug Flutie.
I guess that counts for something too, doesn't it?
At least he hasn't beaten Flutie in British Columbia.
What a year for Doug Flutie. 23 touchdowns and now 5 interceptions on the year, but a tremendous ratio for him. And he just seems to get better and better every week. He's reading defenses so well and seems to always pick out the right receiver. Now it helps that he has a super receiving core to work with. Alan Pitts might mention that he is not in the lineup tonight, and in fact had his knee scoped this week and missed 2 games, and they finally went in and had a look around and found out that there is ligament damage, so he is out for probably 6 weeks. So Doug Flutie will not have Alan Pitts services for that period of time.
Yeah, and he was the leading receiver in Canadian football. Missed last week's game in Hamilton, and they diagnosed the knee problem completely this week, so he's gone for another 4 games at least, maybe a little longer. 6 receivers in for Flutie. Brigance in pursuit. Penalty marker is down, and Flutie looked for Wiggins on the sidelines. Penalty looks to be going against Bruce Plummer, number 29. Plummer's had a tough night already. 5 games with Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 92.
Contact on an eligible receiver. Number 29 on the defense. First down.
Well, they called Plummer for illegal contact as Moore went downfield. He initiated it about the 15-yard mark, and early on it appears that Doug Flutie is wanting to go in Bruce Plummer's area. They got him behind with Brian Wiggins, and now the interference penalty on Plummer.
Talked about the problem the Lions have had with the halfback spot this season. They are certainly solid on the corners, though, with Francis and Les Brown, and at safety with Sean Flutie.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that their problems have been inside safety.
Keevan Jenkins fumbled the ball, and the Lions look to have recovered out near the 51-yard line. Kent Warnock, number 93, coming up with a loose ball, and there seemed to be a little confusion between Keevan Jenkins and Doug Flutie on the exchange.
Well, it's a broken play for Doug Flutie. You watch, he turns this way, Keevan Jenkins goes this way, and you'll see totally from the inception of this play that Doug Flutie is expecting Jenkins to be in another spot. The ball is loose, and the BC Lions, their second turnover here in the first quarter.
Yeah, earlier an interception by Francis on the goal line. The Lions set up this time in great field position out near midfield, and Volpe was the intended receiver. He was open, but couldn't make the catch.
23, John Volpe, incomplete. Second 10.
Well, a good scheme for Danny Barrett, and I think he's going to have to do this more. Calgary, notorious zone coverage team, and that means that you have to involve your backs a little more in the passing game. Let the inside and wide receivers run off those defensive backs and then swing it out to a guy like John Volpe. That time they couldn't hit on it, but nothing wrong with the scheme.
Lonnie Turner and Darren Flutie, the wide receivers for Danny Barrett. This is 2nd and 10. Barrett comes to the near side. Turner made the catch.
Barrett's pass is caught.
Ken Leonard was covering number 30.
And they will be a little short of the first down, and this will be an interesting decision for Dave Ritchie. I think that he and his team would definitely like to make a statement in this game just to how good they are. And Lonnie Turner made the nice catch on Kenton Leonard, and good delivery by Danny Barrett, but he just comes up a little bit short of that first down. And so this will be an interesting call.
Yeah, it's an 8-yard gain as it looks from up here.
And I suspected that Ritchie would, well, now at the last second, he decides that he will punt the ball and play for field position, which is not a bad call either. But I think in the back of their minds, they would really like to make a statement here tonight just to how good they are.
Time count violation against the BC Lions. So that marches the Lions back a little bit, but Lou Pusaglia is standing near his own 47.
And you know, if there's such a thing as a good penalty, I think that was it for the BC Lions, because they wanted to really talk about it on the sidelines. They only had 20 seconds to do it and make the right decision, the decision that they were comfortable with. They take the penalty and probably make the right decision.
Yeah, it was a question of where they spotted the ball. I think Ritchie might have gone gambling with maybe a half a yard closer, but he needed a yard and a little bit, maybe almost 2 yards.
Well, John, the flip side to that is, you know, this is a game that could potentially be very close, and then, of course, field position becomes so important. The Lions have a chance to pin Calgary deep.
This is Crawford, and there was nowhere to go, and Crawford nailed right at the 15-yard line by Donovan Wright. Gord?
Well, John, as bad as the field is now and as slippery as the footing is, it was worse about an hour ago when there was a good inch of water almost everywhere on this football field. This is the oldest turf in the Canadian Football League, and Stan Schwartz and the crew here at McMahon Stadium do a great job taking care of it, and that's one of the reasons it's drained so well. The players are saying the footing is actually improving as the game goes on.
Follow the stats every day, all the way in the Herald.
Flutie and the Calgary Stampeders. First down at the 16. 4 receivers to one side, and Flutie comes in this direction. Picked off almost by Sock Allen. I thought he had it for a moment, and he likely thinks he should have. The middle linebacker, Jacques Allen. Crawford was the intended receiver, number 83.
New scheme for the Calgary Stampeders. 4 receivers to one side of the field, and I have no idea who Doug Flutie was throwing that football to. Knowing Flutie as well as I do, I think a receiver should have been in that area, and he was anticipating it. Sometimes he has to throw that ball before a receiver is ready, anticipating that he will be in the open area. That time no one was there.
Now 2nd and 10, Calgary. Flutie gets a little pressure from O.J. Brigance and just got it away. Pee Wee Smith, number 86, was the intended receiver.
And it's 3rd down.
And it's 3rd down again for the Stampeders.
And the BC Lions are doing an excellent job in their zone coverage, and we talked about the footing. Dave Sapungis goes down, but O.J. Brigance, the sack leader, got pretty close to Flutie, and he just had to throw that one away to avoid the sack. But the BC Lions are continuing to play that zone coverage, which I think is a tremendously good idea, and they're having pretty good success with it here in the first quarter.
Here's Tony Martino standing almost on his goal line at about the 1. And here's Lonnie Turner right at midfield. A return of maybe 2. Well, call it 3. 39-yard kick by Martino. And again, the Lions in the exchange have good field position thanks to the previous turnover. Blair Zerr leading the tacklers, and he is leading the Stampeders in special teams tackles. Did so in 92. 29 seconds to go in the opening quarter. No points on the board. This is a bit of a surprise, but I think the field has a little something to do with it right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, it's funny how you get 2 high-flying teams that sometimes meet, and sometimes it always doesn't live up to your expectations, and certainly that's been the case here in the first quarter.
Millington slips as he crosses the 50. Pinned there by Matt Finley.
He lost his footing about the 50-yard line.
Millington has been a pleasant surprise for the BC Lions, as have so many other players, but at 6'2" and 225 pounds, he truly is a large physical specimen as a fullback, a great runner, obviously a good receiver out of the backfield with his performance 2 weeks ago.
2nd and 7. Barrett behind Darren Flutie.
Barrett's pass intended for number 82.
Carl Anthony, number 19, covering for the Stampeders. So both quarterbacks struggling a little bit to find their targets. No scoring so far. That is quarter number 1 from McMahon Stadium. Here with a CFL Live on TSN. Well, we've had all kinds of weather in Calgary today. Pouring rain before the game. The clouds look a little friendlier right now as we move into the second quarter.
Those look friendly?
Well, friendlier is what I said. It was a little frightening with lightning all around this place a little before game time. Lou Pasaglia angling this one toward the sidelines. And no play as Crawford appeared to misjudge it. First points of the game, a Lou Pasaglia single.
To open the scoring.
Here's what happened in the opening quarter. First downs for Calgary, 4 compared to 1 for the Lions. Passing yardage favored the Stampeders as well. 2 turnovers by the BC Lions.
Yeah, fumble on the exchange from Doug Flutie to Keevan Jenkins, and then of course the only good drive that the Stampeders had was snuffed out with the Andre Francis interception in the end zone, and that was the story of the first quarter. A pretty sluggish first quarter offensively for both teams, but on the other hand, I thought a pretty solid defensive quarter for both teams.
After giving up the single point, Stampeders begin at the 35. 6-pack of receivers in for Doug Flutie, and he hands off to Keevan Jenkins. Kind of shoveled it ahead. Jenkins short of the first down, but he has 8 yards. Met by Eddie Taylor, the right defensive halfback.
This is what happens when you spread out a defense with 6 receivers. You obviously are a little vulnerable in the middle, and a good call to draw. Nice blocking up front, and for Keevan Jenkins, he gets through the point of attack cleanly and into the secondary. Eddie Taylor with the tackle, but that's what spreading out that defense can do.
On 2nd and 2, Keevan gets the call again, and Keevan has the first down. He's still going, breaking a tackle by Sean Foudy, and grabbing extra yardage
Flutie finally caught up and made the tackle, but Keevan had an extra 15 for a total of 25 yards.
Watch Rocco Romano, the left guard, come around and seal off Covington there, and a nice hole for Keevan Jenkins to work up through. And the Calgary Stampeders, you know about their solid passing game, but when they add this dimension to it as well, they are really tough offensively to stop.
A gain of 25, setting the Stampeders up at the 42. Flutie shotgun. Keevan gets the call again. On the receiving end this time. Stopped by Zach Allen, 44. And the gain looks close to 5 yards. Maybe even 6.
And both offenses execute this play extremely well. The screen, there you see Keevan Jenkins, enough of a block on Tyrone Jones, lets him get by. Now he takes the screen and picks up a few yards, but Zach Allen, not a bad play either to bring him down.
This drive has been all Keevan Jenkins. 2nd and 4. Flutie got a little pressure from Brigance. Look for Crawford. And he made the catch. Derek Crawford. Sean Flutie made the tackle. 27 yards. Flutie to Crawford.
And a nice job to get away from the blitzing O.J. Brigance and pick out Crawford, which is a pretty favorable matchup for the Calgary Stampeders. Crawford against the middle safety, Sean Flutie. And to Doug Flutie's credit, he saw it quickly, picked out the right guy, and hit him with a perfect strike.
Keevan Jenkins slightly shaken up. He has sore ribs, but he'll be back. Meantime, Stampeders are 1st and goal to go at the BC 9. Flutie shotgun. Here comes the pressure. He got it away in time. Wide open. Crawford for the touchdown. Derek Crawford and the Stampeders score quickly after giving up a single point. An impressive march and a 9-yard touchdown toss from Doug Flutie to Derek Crawford.
They came with the safety halfback flick. Sean Jones came, and then nobody was left to cover Derek Crawford. A coverage breakdown. One of the reasons why the BC Lions give up the most yardage of any secondary in the league. Sometimes they make the mistakes to kill themselves, and that was one right there to allow Calgary to score their first touchdown of the night.
Mark McLaughlin makes it 7-1. The Calgary Stampeders have the lead on the BC Lions. An impressive march. Calgary beginning at the 35 and going all the way. From Calgary, CFL Live. Derek Crawford with his 6th touchdown reception of the season. A 9-yard toss from Doug Flutie.
And a pretty easy touchdown reception for Derek Crawford. Here he is right here. He will go this way. We're going to let it run and then stop it and show you exactly what happens. And to the left of your screen, you're going to see O.J. Brigance. Stop it right there. The blitz is coming. Nobody comes to Crawford. And hey, this is pretty easy. I could still make that catch. Maybe.
Could you run 9 yards?
Well, that's the tough part. But you know what the tough thing is for the BC Lions? They know they're in tough here. They're trying to establish some identity that they belong in the upper echelon of the Western Conference. But you can't give a good team like Calgary easy touchdowns. You have to make them earn everything, and that was a gift for Derek Crawford.
Yeah, it was a fairly easy drive overall. Keevan Jenkins responsible for a lot of yardage in that drive, but they covered a lot of territory in a very quick period of time.
That's it. Get it going. One more from the little guy.
Well, he is able to do so many things for the Stampeders. Derek Crawford, of course, the all-purpose yardage leader. That means punt returns, kickoff returns, and receiving combined together. And he is #1 in that department in the CFL.
This is Corey Philpott, has trouble inside his 20. He's a speedster, but he couldn't get on track that time. Well covered by the Calgary special teams, led by Douglas Kraft, #3. Also in on the tackle, Greg Frears. 75 yards in 5 plays. And Flutie finished it off with his 24th touchdown toss of the season to Derek Crawford.
A return of 6 yards. Down there quickly. The new addition to the lineup, #3.
And now a very interesting spot for Dave Ritchie and his offense. They rank 4th in the league. There's no question they can move the football, but you know they've seen Calgary get on the roll on that last drive, and I think it's imperative they answer it with something of their own.
Volpe Takes the toss from Danny Barrett.
Danny Barrett lobs it
6
out.
yards the gain. Interesting, a couple of moments ago, the BC Lions had terrific field position and never were able to take advantage of it.
Second down, 3 yards to go, BC.
7-1, Stampeders leading the Lions. Volpe missed 7 games. Missed the first one after holding out, and he wasn't quite ready to get into the lineup week 1 and then got injured week 2.
And in week 2, he was having a heck of a game against the Toronto Argonauts when he broke his leg.
Second and 4. Barrett to the near side. Turner made the catch. No, he didn't. Couldn't hang on. Number 21, Lonnie Turner, and he had enough for the first down. So, again, the Lions send out the kicking team.
That's the second time that Danny Barrett has one-hopped a hitch pass to Lonnie Turner, and you have to think at this point in time that is quarterback error, and Danny Barrett not at the top of his game here in the first half.
Lou Pasaglia boomed one a little earlier, 59 yards. That was for the single point.
And Pasaglia is in punt formation for BC.
No rush on Pasaglia. This is Crawford. Derek Crawford heading to the near side. Needed a block, but he still gets out to the 40, so the Stampeders have decent field position. Brigance made the tackle, an 11-yard return. First down, Calgary, when we return to the CFL Live from McMahon.
Welcome back to Calgary. With all the things that Doug Flutie has done in his CFL career, there aren't many criticisms of him. But this week, James West said he hoped it was raining and windy here in Calgary because, as he put it, everyone knows that Doug Flutie can't play well in bad weather. And that's a criticism as Doug Flutie throughout his career. There are some who say it's because he has small hands and has difficulty gripping the ball in the cold. Flutie will point to a game in Saskatchewan a couple years ago when he was with BC, saying that he performed well there. But strangely, that rumor has followed him around, and Flutie anxious to dispel that myth tonight.
Well, he dispelled part of that on the previous drive. It is a little wet out there and not very windy right now. 6 defensive backs in for the Lions. Flutie, far side, has Pee Wee Smith. Smith ran right by Plummer and down the sidelines.
Sideline.
27 yards. Pee Wee Smith should have been stopped a little sooner.
And how would you like to have him in your lineup? He doesn't even get to start.
That's right. Listed as a backup behind Moore, but gets in on certain situations.
Demetrius.
4 receivers near side on first down for Flutie. This time he carries himself and is brought down as he crosses the 30-yard line by Tyrone Jones, number 99.
Oh, it's interesting how quickly Doug Flutie recognizes what is happening downfield. The BC Lions are going with 6 defensive back to try and get a little better coverage. They get that. But then, of course, they're a little vulnerable to the quarterback taking off and running. And Flutie sees this. He sees an opening upfield. And pretty easy first down for him to pick up. So on back-to-back possessions, it looks like Doug Flutie has found his rhythm.
Flutie has 13 yards on his first carry of the night. First down, Stampeders 31, touchdown, Dave Sapunjas. First catch for Sapunjas, and it's a touchdown.
And it's the 8th touchdown of a pretty young season for Dave Sapunjas, approaching the halfway mark tonight. And boy, he has to be pleased with his numbers. That's his 52nd catch, and no Canadian receiver has ever caught more than 100 passes. And I think Dave Sapunjas has a terrific opportunity to establish that mark this year. Don't think Doug Flutie won't be thinking about it as the season progresses.
Back-to-back touchdowns for the Calgary Stampeders. Unimpressive drives engineered by Doug Flutie. Calgary leading BC 14-1. Dave Sapunjas celebrating his 8th touchdown reception this season. Quite a play by the Stampeders.
It really was. You know, they caught the BC Lion defense in a 3-deep zone, and that means that Sean Flutie has this area in the middle. On the outside, Les Brown has that up here in the short flat. So what does Sapunjas do? As soon as he clears that defensive back, in this case it's Eddie Taylor, the ball is in the air, and Sean Flutie just doesn't have time to react over from his middle safety spot. But this is exactly how you attack a 3-deep zone. Try and hit the seam right down between the corner and the middle safety. And the Calgary Stampeders make it look pretty easy.
Two impressive drives by Doug Flutie make it 14-1. Stampeders leading the Lions.
Well, it becomes a difficult thing for the Lions. How do you defense it, Doug Flutie? They've tried the zone. I think it's a good scheme to try and play it. They have to tighten down the zones, but hey, sometimes you just got to say that this team we're playing against is pretty awesome. Dave Sapunjas is part of a receiving group and an offense that has performed at an extremely high level for into 9 games now this season.
On the return for the Lions, this is Ryan Hansen, and he simply bowls his way across the 35 to about the 38. 50-yard kickoff, 18-yard return, and the BC Lions will be first down, trying to get back into the ball game after giving up back-to-back touchdowns to the Stampeders.
And worth another look to go back and just see how nicely they executed it. And once again, it's Doug Flutie's ability to read the coverage, react to it quickly, throw the football to the right area when he sees what kind of defense he's throwing into, and gosh, he makes it look so easy.
Yeah, 3 plays, 71 yards, and a 31-yard touchdown toss to Dave Sapunjas. First down for the Lions. Danny Barrett at the controls, trying to get something going for BC. Good fake, but the pressure is on now. Trevathan should have made the catch. And Lion receivers have dropped a couple so far tonight. Trevathan should be disappointed about that.
Well, and it compounds the problem. They have to try and keep the ball away from Doug Flutie. That has to be an objective for Danny Barrett and his offense. Sure, they need to score some points to get back into this one, but they obviously as well need to keep it away from Doug Flutie, and guys like Trevathan have to make those catches.
Second down and 10 Lions.
Stampeders have 6 DBs in, with Douglas Kraft joining the secondary. Barrett standing in over the middle this time, and that will be a first down. Matt Clark out to the 55 and stopped by Greg Knox.
Number 85, who takes it up near midfield.
Lions needed that first down. 16 yards for Clark.
Well, you're so right, John. That is a big play. They needed to try and get something positive, start to feel a little better about themselves offensively. They have struggled, but Matt Clark, to his credit, finds the open area, and good protection allows Danny Barrett to hit them.
16-yard gain for the Lions and a first and 10 at the 54.
Little pressure by Will Johnson. Lions have their second first down of the game, and Lonnie Turner should have made the catch. Carl Anthony gets the interception as a result. It's not Danny Barrett's fault right now.
This is tough for Danny Barrett. He throws the strike. Turner has it, bobbles in, and Carl Anthony takes it on the fly. And, of course, that will be his second interception of the year. So when the BC Lions are struggling and things just get a little worse, ball that should have been caught, boy, you get a great look at it there.
Turnover sets Flutie and the Stampeders up with terrific field position. 6:32 to go till halftime. It is 14-1. Calgary leading BC.
Good job, Carl. Good job, man.
There's an injured BC Lion on the field. It's John Volpe, number 23. It has not been a memorable year for Volpe. He missed 7 games due to an injury.
The Calgary Stampeders off to an undefeated start. There's naturally a lot of talk about Doug Flutie, Alan Pitts, David Sapunjas, and the like, but the Calgary defense has really been overshadowed in this outstanding Calgary year. And playing tonight without Junior Thurman, they felt they had something to prove, and they talked about it on the sidelines during the first quarter, that shutting down Danny Barrett and putting up an impressive performance was their major goal tonight.
After 2 straight touchdown drives, the offense has it again.
Well, the Stampeders have been solid in the second quarter in particular, leading 14-1. First down inside Calgary territory. Andy McVeigh carries and has better than 5 yards before James West made the tackle.
It's a gain of 8 yards for McVeigh. Taken down by number 56, James West.
Second down. About 1.5 to go. McVeigh 19 for 67 on the season. Solid blocker for Keevan Jenkins. And Jenkins gets the call this time. Cuts inside and gets the first down at the 40. Tyrone Jones, 99 for the Lions, made the tackle.
And that is going to be enough for a Stampeder first down. Ty Jones, number 99 on the tackle.
So now the Calgary Stampeders decide to just try and grind it out for a little while and choose some time off that clock. And of course, Keevan Jenkins becomes a big part of that. And you know, one of the reasons why he has been so successful for so many years is the Calgary Stampeders don't overuse him. He gets to carry and touch the ball through kickoffs and receiving and running the ball about 16, 17 times a game, and that's just about right to keep him healthy.
3 receivers to the far side of the field, and Flutie looks back to the near side this time. Sapunjas makes the catch inside the 25. Eddie Taylor covering on Sapunjas, who scored the second touchdown of the game for Calgary just moments ago. 16 yards here.
And boy, has he ever worked hard at his craft throughout the last couple of years. 2-time Grey Cup Canadian MVP in back-to-back seasons, and fearless coming across that middle. And that's one of the things that I've always liked about watching Dave Sapunjas. He's got a huge heart and never afraid to take that hit over the middle, and that's why he has caught 53 passes so far in 9 games.
First down, Stampeders, 6 defensive backs in for the Lions. Keevan Jenkins was the intended receiver, and Les Brown got over to tip it away at the last moments.
There, and double zero, Les Brown has time to recover. Incomplete, second down.
Another sensational season for Les Brown.
Well,
they don't go in his direction all that often.
Not a great deal. You know, he's been a CFL leader in interceptions a number of times and has a couple this year, but that time Doug Flutie thought that Keevan Jenkins had snuck in behind him, but that's why Les Brown is so tough. He'll let you think that, and he's so confident that he can react to it and break it up as he did there.
Second and 10. Flutie avoids the pressure and found Pee Wee Smith down at the 15. James West made the tackle. Flutie got on 11 of 16 for 198 yards.
You know, this is interesting. This is the exact same play that he ran the last time, and Smith just sits down in that open spot as he did in the previous play where they tried to hit Keevan Jenkins. And he came back to the huddle, obviously, and said to Flutie, run it again. They didn't cover me, and Flutie, to his credit, said, okay, we'll go back to that run. We didn't hit Jenkins, but we'll hit you underneath. Exact same play. That time they picked out the right guy.
Short yardage unit is in for a 3rd and 1. Stampeders are at the BC 15.
Stampeders at the 15-yard line.
Interesting formation that shifts. Keevan Jenkins slips, and I believe he still might have gotten the first down. Hang on.
Jenkins lost his footing.
Not quite that time.
I think he came up short.
He needed the 14-yard line, not the 15.
And they'll bring the sticks in to take a look. Short by a yard. Short by a yard.
Stampeders leading the Lions 14-1.
You know, you wonder about the players tonight, and a lot of guys spat their shoes, and that means tape along the bottom, and that can be very slippery. But, you know, for Keevan Jenkins, he doesn't do that, and He just simply lost the footing as he tried to pick up that first down, and in doing so came up a bit short. That'll be Calgary's 3rd turnover of the night. There you see, when you cut on a wet field on your kind of downhill ski there, it slides out from underneath you.
Yeah, you don't want the weight on the downhill ski on a football field.
No, you got to plant your weight on the ball of your foot on that outside leg, not on the inside.
3rd turnover by the Stampeders. Lions are 1st and 10 from the 14. Philpott was the intended receiver. Barrett off target.
See, we use analogies from other sports to get
Certainly.
the point across.
3 minutes to go till halftime with the Stampeders in control, leading the Lions on 2 touchdowns in the 2nd quarter. From McMahon in Calgary, CFL Live.
If you had said at the start of this season that the BC Lions would be 6-2 at this point, you would raise a lot of eyebrows. And the Lions have done that. Danny Barrett has a reason.
I think it all starts with management. Bill Comrie is an excellent owner. He brought in Eric Tillman, was brought in Dave Ritchie. He's a player's coach, and he brought in players that want to play for him. And we enjoy playing for Dave, and I think that's the key. We're having fun. We're enjoying what we're doing, not only because we're winning, but we're getting better each and every game. And I think a lot of that has to be attributed to our management and our coaching staff as well. They work very hard at getting us prepared to play.
And one person that Danny Barrett didn't mention that I think he would have liked to was Joe Paopao, the offensive coordinator, who calls all the plays for Danny Barrett. And he, too, is a huge reason why the BC Lions have had such success on offense this season.
Barrett has not put any big numbers on the board so far tonight, 5 of 13. In the passing department, just 39 yards. He's had a couple dropped, however. Trevathan a few moments ago. Lonnie Turner has dropped at least one. So 1st down, make it 2nd down. For the Lions at the 14. 2nd and 10. Barrett far side. Flutie makes the catch. That's Darren Flutie, and that'll be a 1st down.
Number 82, Darren Flutie on the sideline.
Stopped by Greg Knox, a gain of 23 yards, and that's the 1st catch for the younger Flutie tonight.
And the rollout action by Danny Barrett gives Darren Flutie just that little bit of extra time to work against Kenton Leonard. And as he went downfield, final push-off, and he came free. That's a big catch, getting the Lions deep out of their own end. And still with a couple of minutes remaining in the 1st half, Danny Barrett has time to try and get them on the scoreboard with their 1st touchdown of the night.
Number 6, Corey Philpott is in the backfield for John Volpe. Barrett over the middle and almost a great catch. Greg Knox putting the hit. I think Sean Millington was the intended receiver. Let's check it out.
You get a chance to vote on that with Jerry Ford for the 4th quarter.
Well, this is what a middle safety dreams about when he's sitting back in his zone coverage and just reading the quarterback. When the ball is in the air, Greg Knox reacts to it and puts a tremendous hit on Mike Trevathan, knocking that ball loose. But as a middle safety, you dream about getting those opportunities, and sure Knox made the most of his.
We don't blame the receiver for not coming up with that catch. 2nd and 10. 6 defensive backs in for the Stampeders. Barrett has Flutie, and that was a miracle catch. Flutie sitting up on top of the shoulders of Ken Watson and still hung on to the ball for a 14-yard gain.
Well, this is the home of the Calgary Stampede, and this was calf roping at his best, because Darren Flutie, fearless over the middle, goes up and makes a spectacular catch. But watch this. They say, hey, wrap those rags together, tie them with the twine, and we got him.
Yeah.
Wow, what a catch that was. I mean, your heart is pounding when you're up in the air and vulnerable like that. But to Darren Flutie's credit, he was fearless.
Barrett looking deep this time. Lonnie Turner was the intended receiver, and Barrett overthrew him with Anthony covering.
Danny Barrett looking deep for number 21, Lonnie Turner. Overshoots.
That was a great catch
Carl Anthony was
by
right
Darren Flutie
anyway.
in the previous play. 2:09 till a half. Lonnie Turner, noted speedster, but he wasn't quite fast enough that time.
Let's go back one more time and have a look at that Darren Flutie catch. I mean, this is worth seeing twice. Look how exposed he is, and he hangs on. Two guys, Gerald Vaughn and Kenny Watson, and boy, that is worth a second look. That was just terrific.
2nd and 10 for the Lions. Barrett from the shotgun, getting pressure now, far side. And Trevathan makes the catch and stays inbound.
And now the BC Lions are finally helping their quarterback out with some great efforts, and none greater than Mike Trevathan there. Ken Watson again on the coverage, and he goes high in the air to catch a ball that's kind of fluttering as it gets there. Slipped out of the hand, but watch how he keeps his feet in bounds. Only need to keep 1 foot in bounds, obviously, in Canadian football, but that is a nice effort and certainly makes up for the one that he dropped earlier. And the BC Lions now finally got something going here late in the second quarter.
13-yard gain for Trevathan. On the previous play, 1st and 10. Lions now at the Stampeder 43 with Calgary leading 14-1. And 2:03 to go till halftime.
First and 10 Lions at the Calgary 43.
Barrett has time, looking deep, and Flutie was the intended receiver. Barrett missed by about 5 yards.
Two Stampeders overshot him. 2nd down, 10 BC.
Now it's 2nd and long, and Barrett has overthrown Flutie and Lonnie Turner on this drive.
Well, you know, sometimes it's not all that bad to air it out. You know, sure, they didn't complete the pass, but you plant the seed in the secondary, in the minds of the secondary. The Calgary Stampeders said, yes, they want to try and go deep, and more often than not, that will open up in the intermediate routes, and Danny Barrett's receivers will have a little more room by throwing that long bomb occasionally.
From the shotgun on 2nd and 10, Barrett gets pressure. Away from 1, and on target. Matt Clark made the catch, and he'll have a first down, and a penalty marker comes down on Carl Anthony, a 12-yard gain.
And goes out of bounds near the Stampeder 30-yard line.
Yeah, Alondra Johnson got a little pressure on Barrett, and he got away from it neatly.
Yeah, and so Matt Clark does a nice job working on 38, Gerald Vaughn. See how he takes him straight upfield and works him to the inside, and then breaks it back outside, works back to the quarterback, and that was a textbook out pattern by Matt Clark. And well, you're right. Danny Barrett did a super job to elude the pressure, get himself some extra time to find Clark downfield.
The penalty added on to the gain sets the BC Lions up. 1st and 10 at the Stampeders 16.
1st and 10.
Philpott couldn't make the catch. Alondra Johnson with Philpott. Barrett also hit the turf. A minute 45 till halftime.
Pretty interesting combination tonight. They have Philpott and John Volpe both playing the same position in the lineup tonight. And of course, Philpott, the better receiver of the two, and he is in on this situation where receiving will be important for the backs of the BC Lions.
2nd and 10, Lions at the Stampeders 16. Here comes the charge. Barrett got it away at the 10-yard line. Flutie made the catch. Let's see where they spot the ball.
He's quite
Carl
a way.
Anthony.
Sorry, John. He's quite a way short of that first down. Darren Flutie went down about 10 yards, but then as he worked back to the quarterback, he lost that first down yardage. He's coming back, and he loses about 3 yards there, and they come up actually about 3 yards short.
Solid pressure by Will Johnson, forcing Barrett to unload perhaps a little sooner than he wanted to.
Well, I mean, he made a nice catch, ran a nice pattern, but I think, you know, when you need 10, you got to go 12 and work your way back. And although he makes the catch, it goes on the statistics. He really didn't help the team that much there because they wanted a touchdown. They didn't want to have to settle for the field goal, and Flutie cut that pattern off a little bit short.
Lupus Saglia with Darren Flutie holding. Good from 17 yards away, so the Lions close in a little bit on the Calgary Stampeders, settling for 3. 10-point ball game at 14-4.
And a very positive drive for the BC Lions as the offense finally gets on track. Danny Barrett looked very comfortable on that possession, and worked his receiving core nicely, and the BC Lions come out of it with a Pasaglia field goal. And what they did more than anything else was take a little the sting and momentum out of the Calgary Stampeders and recapture a little bit of their own.
Stay with us at the half for the Ferroni File, a sports update, which will include the story from Saskatchewan tonight with Sacramento in town, and the story of our game here at McMahon in Calgary. Flutie in the Stampeders first down with 1:24 to go till halftime. 6 defensive backs in. This one is batted down. O.J. Brigance thought that he might have had an opportunity to come up with that ball and was batted into the air.
I think it was O.J. Brigance who batted it in the air and almost had a chance to get his own tip. The sack leader in the CFL so far this year with 10. O.J. Brigance in his 3rd year in the CFL, and when he came in as a rookie from Rice, he looked good as a rookie, and he's just been one of those players that has been able to get better and better every season.
Stampeders 2nd and 10. Calgary 35. There's the time till halftime. Sapunjas makes the catch right out at midfield. Sean Flutie made the stop. Sapunjas has 22 yards.
Same pass that Sapunjas caught the touchdown on. As soon as he clears the linebacker James West in his zone coverage, the ball is in the area. There you see Taylor trying to get a hit on him, but as soon as he clears West, the ball is just lofted over to him in the zone, and Flutie can't get there in time.
1:08 till the half. This is Pee Wee Smith breaking away from one tackle. He got away from Les Brown. And then Jones made the stop, 14 yards for Pee Wee Smith. Flutie has been able to march the Stampeders in the 2nd quarter. 58 seconds till halftime. Calgary operating with a no-huddle offense. Flutie, far side. Sapunjas again. He turns. He's inside the 20. Brought down at the 9-yard line by Bruce Plummer, who had to catch him from behind. 30 more yards for Dave Sapunjas, who's having a whale of a quarter.
Well, the BC Lions try to counter with the 6th defensive back, Sean Jones, and Dave Sapunjas on the out with the spin move, and picks up a lot of good extra yardage here, but once again, I think it's the time that Doug Flutie is being afforded to throw the football tonight. His offensive line has done a terrific job. The BC Lions only rushing 4 people on that in that case, and lots of time for Flutie to pick out Dave Sapunjas downfield.
Half a minute to go till halftime. 1st and goal to go. Stampeders at the 9. Flutie. Too far for Derek Crawford. Bruce Plummer was covering. Now 22 seconds remaining.
Well, we talked about a few things that the Lions could do on defense, and one was to try and play a zone and frustrate Flutie by making him throw underneath it. Well, that's good, but you know, you also have to try and get some pressure on him, and for the most part in this first half tonight, the BC Lions haven't been able to get close to Flutie. Not surprising, his offensive line has only given up 7 sacks this year, but if the Lions can't get some sort of pressure on him, it's going to be a long night.
2nd goal to go at the 9. Flutie. Touchdown, Sapunjas. 5 catches for 108 yards. 2 touchdowns, all in the 2nd quarter. Dave Sapunjas.
Well, they make it look pretty easy. Dave Sapunjas feels the blitz coming, and Sean Jones allows him to get to the inside where he does not have any help in the middle, and Doug Flutie sees it, reads it quickly, and hits Sapunjas for his 2nd of the night.
An amazing display by number 20, Doug Flutie, and number 25, Dave Sapunjas.
Well, this is what Doug Flutie is seeing. He's got Sapunjas here, and with the blitz coming, he knows that Sapunjas has the inside position, and it's pretty easy for him to work to the inside on the post. Let it run, and Flutie is looking all the way for him, and for Sapunjas, a pretty easy catch. And with Doug Flutie had 1:24 when they took the ball. And
yeah, there's time remaining till the half, Leaf. That only took about 1:07 to get all the way.
Well, he used the clock so nicely, and Sapuntis with some good catches, and gets his second touchdown of the night.
It's now 21-4, Calgary, with 3 touchdowns in the second quarter, leading the British Columbia Lions. And you've got to keep the football away from Doug Flutie on a night like this. Corey Philpott trying to make something happen for the BC Lions. Still on his feet as he crosses the 50-yard line. 9 seconds till the half, and look what Flutie has done here. 6 plays to cover 75 yards, and he finished it off with his second touchdown pass to David Sapunjas.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders had a rather sluggish first quarter, but have certainly made up for it in the second. Doug Flutie now able to pick apart that vulnerable BC Lions secondary, and Flutie is looking down the middle all the way there, as he knows Sean Flutie has vacated that area, and he's got a pretty good matchup with Sapunjas against the newcomer Sean Jones, and Sapunjas with his second.
9th touchdown of the year for Sapunjas. Time running out on the Lions in the first half. Barrett, this could be the last play of the half, and Barrett's had no one to throw to, so it's down the sidelines, and unofficially 1 second remains. Will Johnson supplying pressure on Danny Barrett that time, and that's happened earlier in this ball game.
Pretty interesting score from Regina, we've just been told. First half almost over at Taylor Field. The Sacramento Gold Miners 16, Saskatchewan Roughriders 0.
And a full house at Taylor Field to watch this one.
And the full house won't be happy with that.
That's a long way from over, though.
There you have it. Ken Austin apparently has a bit of a separated shoulder on his passing arm going into that game. And of course, he was starting, but you wonder how healthy he may be.
Will Johnson got to Danny Barrett on the final play of the opening half. Barrett and the BC Lions have fallen behind the high-rolling Calgary Stampeders. It's 21-4. More from McMahon on the CFL Live in a moment.
You look around at the average crowd at a CFL game and you notice the faces. Not surprisingly, a lot of men's faces. But you can't help but notice there's a lot of female CFL fans as well. So this week on the Frony File, we're going to find out what these women like about football and why they are here.
Oh, love football. I love the CFL. It's way better than the NFL. It's a wider, faster field. It's, to me, NFL, they've got too many chances. These guys, they really have to hustle when they play football.
My husband loves baseball and I love football.
What is it about football that you enjoy the most?
Well, I don't know. I guess maybe I know more about it than baseball, and I find it's faster. I like it, and I enjoy it.
Do you think that football is something that can appeal to women?
Well, I've been going for over 30 years.
But you know the rules and you understand this game?
I'm not as good on guard and tackles, but I watch the ball and I watch the play, and I think I can join in.
Well, I'm an offensive lineman. How did you know who I was if you never watched the offensive line?
Oh, well, you're a seasoned veteran. You're a veteran. You've been around for a few years.
You're too kind.
I know. Good looking, too.
Oh, the trick question here is, how many points do you get for a safety?
2.
2 points. Absolutely correct.
Oh, thank you. Can I have a yellow football?
Would you happen to know what a blitz is?
Defensive play, sacking the quarterback.
Even this guy doesn't know what a blitz is, so how could she know?
Hey, I got to give it to her in quick little bits, so you guys aren't on to me.
Do you know how many points you get when you score a safety?
1, isn't it? Or is that when that's when they concede a point? Pardon me. Safety. Hang on. There's 1, 3, 2.
Football is a male-dominated sport, but there's a strong female voice out there in the crowd. And they're smart, too. And speaking of smart, here's another edition of Football Ferroni Fashion.
Once in a blue moon, the Calgary Stampeders go a quarter without scoring a touchdown, but then in the second quarter they scored 3, 21-4, Calgary leading the British Columbia Lions, and a rather awesome display by Doug Flutie in the second quarter here at McMahon tonight.
Well, you said it took them a while to get started, but once they did, they were off and running with a very, very solid second quarter. And Derek Crawford, you know what they did tonight? Alan Pitts was telling me at halftime, he's up here in the booth, he said they put a new formation in tonight just for the BC Lions where Derek Crawford would be in the backfield, and he snuck out, and the first time they used it, the results were pretty good as he got the touchdown. And for James West, he had to try and cover him, and that was a long way for him to go. You see Flutie recognizes it so quickly, got what he wanted out of that formation, and there is Crawford wide open for Calgary's first touchdown of the night.
Second touchdown of the night to Dave Sapunjas, and then the third touchdown of the night. Sapunjas gets his second right here.
Well, Dave Sapunjas is having just an unbelievable year, picking up where he left off a year ago. 5 catches, 108 yards, and a couple of touchdowns in the first half, and he certainly has been the favorite target for Doug Flutie.
And the catch of the night right here, Danny Barrett for Darren Flutie.
Well, I thought we'd show you this one more time, and look at the concentration and the hit. And Darren Flutie held on to that one, and that was the best drive that was put together by the BC Lions, led to a Lou Pasaglia field goal. Looked like they were coming back, but then the last few seconds, Doug Flutie did his magic again, and they are ahead quite comfortably.
Yeah, so what does Danny Barrett have to do to get the BC Lions a little bit closer?
Well, I think what he has to do is talk to the defense, first of all, and tell them to try and shut Flutie down, and if they are able to do that, I think Danny Barrett just stays with a normal game plan. They're not down by a great deal of points. They've had certainly some success this year offensively, so I don't think they should be too disheartened and just try and keep an upbeat tone among the team.
Okay, we'll continue live from McMahon Stadium with the CFL Live on TSN. The Calgary Stampeders in front, 21-4 at the half.
And 1 interception.
Welcome back to McMahon Stadium in Calgary, where the Stampeders turned it on in the second quarter for a 21-4 lead on the British Columbia Lions. Lots to smile about if you're a Stampeder fan.
Well, it really was a tremendous second quarter for Doug Flutie, 272 yards. You know, he averages almost 398 yards a game through the air, so he's well on his way to normal Doug Flutie night.
Closing in on 19,000 yards passing in 3.5 years of Canadian football.
Lonnie Turner, 2 for
He is something else.
Well, you could say that Doug Flutie has a great cast around him to work with, and yes, that is true, but he certainly supplies the magic to this offense with his understanding of how defenses work, where to throw the football, how to pick out the right guy in certain situations, and they put in a new formation tonight that resulted in a touchdown. And you know, a lot of credit. As for Danny Barrett with Joe Paopao, we talked about that. For Doug Flutie, he would be the first guy to tell you, does John Huffnagel, my offensive coordinator, ever give me a lot of help too?
Ready for the second half kickoff at McMahon. The BC Lions have to battle back. Down by 17 points. Corey Philpott had trouble. Now he's got a head of steam up. And Philpott still standing as he crosses the 45. 22 yards the return. And the Lions have pretty good field position. Danny Barrett would like to improve on his numbers from the first half. 10 of 23 for 110 yards. And a couple were dropped on Danny Barrett in the opening half.
Well, the good news for Danny is they closed out the first half with a nice drive that resulted in a field goal. And I'm sure they talked at halftime, have made a few subtle adjustments. And what they have to do is pick up on that success that they had late in the second quarter and keep it going.
Barrett from the shotgun on first down. Matt Clark made the catch. He stopped short of the first down out near the 51 by Alondra Johnson and Marvin Pope. 6 yards the gain. It'll be 2nd and 4. John Volpe will not be back in the Lions backfield in the second half. That means Corey Philpott, number 6, will be running for Volpe.
Well, you almost had to think with bringing Philpott here along with Volpe that they had some concerns as to the complete health of Volpe. Was he 100%? And obviously he now will not finish this game.
On 2nd and 4. Here comes the charge from the Stampeders.
No catch at the 50-yard line. Lonnie Turner, number 21, in his third game for the Lions, couldn't make the catch that time. A little low.
Yeah, third time that Danny Barrett has one-hopped it to Lonnie Turner on this exact pattern. Turner has been open every time, and these are actually pretty easy passes to complete for Danny Barrett. Ball control style of offense through the passing game, but for some reason he just has not been able to get it into Lonnie Turner.
Louis Pasaglia is back near his own 35.
Pasaglia standing at his 36-yard line. Pretty good average on the night. Too deep for the Stampeders. Brian Wiggins and Derek Crawford. High kick. Wiggins couldn't handle it, and he lost it into the end zone.
Brian Wiggins.
Luckily, he recovered it. It'll go for a single point.
Ball ends up in the end zone.
Luckily for Brian Wiggins. On the sidelines, Gord Miller with a couple of Calgary legends.
Yeah, John, if you're a fan of the CFL, you know these guys. John Helton and Tom Forzani among the players honored for the Calgary Stampeders all-time all-star team. John, you look like you could still play.
Not at all. I can stand here and watch real close, but not out on the field any further than this.
Tommy, you look at this Calgary Stampeder team now and the things that it's done. Could you imagine that they'd be able to put it together like this in the short time they've done it?
Boy, they're playing, well, exceptional. If they're going to go back a long ways, they're going to have to come back a long ways to find out anybody else better than this team right now.
Tom Forzani, by the way, one of the first players to wear gloves, not quite like these red ones we've got here to keep us warm on the sidelines, guys.
First and 10 for the modern Stampeders of 1993 with Flutie at the controls and fired a little high for Will Moore, number 82.
That's Will Moore. It was over his head, and that takes some doing.
Calgary leading 21-5.
I think you could read Doug Flutie's lips there. He's saying, sorry guys, quarterback error. Doesn't happen often, but quarterback error on that one. I missed the throw, missed the read.
Second and 10 Stampeders out at the 35.
Second down and 10 Stampeders.
Flutie can't find anyone open, and he's caught from behind.
Flutie cannot get away from the BC Lions rush.
Ken Warnock, number 93, for a 4-yard loss for Doug Flutie.
And really, that is a key for the BC Lions in the second half to fight their way back into this one. They have to get some sort of pressure on Doug Flutie. Flutie's had things pretty much his own way in the first half, and for the BC Lions, they have to try and upset his rhythm somehow, and Ken Warnock did a nice job to do that on this first possession for Calgary, coming up with the sack.
There is 15 in punt formation. Lonnie Turner, the only BC player back.
Tony Martino standing at his 18. And this is whistled down. Martino, a high punt, and Phil Potts couldn't make the catch even though the play was whistled down. No, Phil Potts has had some difficulties hanging on to the football on kick returns.
Offside, 79 on the defense. Third down repeated.
Derek McCready, it won't cost the BC Lions very much. It was third and a bunch. Martino gets to punt 5 yards closer. Pretty good kick by Martino, and Philpott struggles again. No return. He lost a yard. Leading the tacklers upfield, Pee Wee Smith. Stampeders leading the ball game 21-5. This is CFL Live from McMahon.
Update from Taylor Field in Regina in front of a sold-out crowd of Regina Rough Rider fans with the ball at the 27-yard line. Kent Austin hooks up with Ray Elgard for the touchdown. Saskatchewan creeping closer now to Sacramento, trailing by a score of 16-10 in the third quarter.
Great to see a full house on hand at Taylor Field. John Huffnagel, very responsible for the offense that the Calgary Stampeders run. Calls all the plays for Doug Flutie.
interesting. It's a real battle of offensive minds here tonight. You've got Huffnagel on one side and Joe Pow on the other side, where the two of them call plays for both their quarterbacks, and two veteran quarterbacks, great experience, going against each other tonight from the sidelines. Dave Easley, in charge of the special teams for the BC Lions with the Argonauts last year.
Let's go, Paul!
Present your game ticket at
Third quarter just nicely underway. It's 21-5. Calgary leading BC.
Now that's Italian.
And almost ready for play to resume. Barrett of the Lions, beginning at the 29. Flutie to the near side. Lonnie Turner flanks to the far side of the field. Trevathan moves to the far side with three receivers over there. Philpott got the call. This is Corey Philpott, and he's bulldogged down near the 35 by Alondra Johnson.
And Alondra Johnson rammed him to the
Solid
turf
on kick
after
returns.
he was
Philpott is the fastest of the British Columbia Lions.
Ooh, I might argue that. Lonnie Turner might argue that.
Well,
one.
someone said to me that today, as a matter of fact.
I don't know
if they've had them out on the track or not.
I know one thing, though, that Corey Philpott has done a fine job in replacing John Volpe this year. He is a pretty good rushing back, but I think his forte is catching the football out of the backfield with his tremendous speed. And he has 3 touchdowns on only 8 receptions this year, a nice ratio.
The gain was 6. This is 2nd and 4. Barrett to his left. Sees an opening and grabs the first down himself.
Danny Barrett decides
Will
to carry
Johnson
the
made the tackle. 8 yards for Danny Barrett.
For the most part tonight, the Calgary secondary has just done a tremendous job covering the BC Lion receivers, and Danny Barrett has had to run the football probably a little more than he would have liked to tonight, but as he looks downfield, nothing there, and with a little block in front from 58 Rod Smith and Corey Philpott, Danny Barrett makes a good choice and runs and picks up that first down. And you know, hey, they moved it well in the second quarter, and just stick with the basic things, a little bit of run, short passing, and they should be all right.
First down, and penalty markers are everywhere. Barrett on the far side, and Flutie was the intended receiver, number 82. Eric Johnson, number 84, moved a little early for the Calgary Stampeders.
And Danny Barrett forced the football in there because he knew he had a free play.
Offside, number 84 on the defense. First down repeated.
You see at the top of your screen, number 84, Eric Johnson, the newcomer, that defensive front four of the Calgary Stampeders this year, actually beat out Tim Caulfield, who ended up in Hamilton. Not bad for Caulfield. He's got 7 sacks with the Tiger Cats this year so far.
Eric Johnson has 4 with the Calgary Stampeders, so he's been effective as well. 1st and 5, BC. And a procedure call this time against the Lions. Leo Groenwagen, number 53, looked to be moving a little prematurely.
So they will trade 5-yard penalties, and a couple of plays start all over again.
Stamps have the lead.
Illegal procedure. 53 on the offense. First down repeated.
Leo getting a little bit of a jump there. So back we go to 1st and 10. And back to the 44-yard line. Barrett behind his intended receiver, Matt Clark, number 85.
Matt Clark, number 85, a sliding attempt, but it is incomplete. And it's 2nd and 10.
Clark, a sliding attempt to catch the ball. Gerald Vaughn was covering on him.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders make a real adjustment here. Now they take out Sreko Zizakovic and Marvin Pope, add 2 defensive backs. Number 6, Greg Frères.
Second and 10. Barrett gets dragged down by Alondra Johnson, who charged right through.
Well, you have to give the defense of the Calgary Stampeders credit, and that's Don Southern. You know, they put 7 defensive backs. Douglas Kraft comes in, and Greg Frères comes in, and you know, they just had such good coverage downfield that when Barrett broke the pocket, number 51, Alondra Johnson, was able to spy on him, make the tackle, get the sack. But, you know, 7 defensive backs really shut down the BC Lion receiving corps, and Barrett had nowhere to go. Well, you know you've got speed as a linebacker when you can duck underneath the block. In that case, it was Sean Millington, and still have enough speed to get back to the outside and pick up the sack.
On 3rd and 21. Lou Pasaglia back near his 19. High kick. This is Derek Crawford looking for a play, and he won't get one. Well played by Lou Pasaglia. He has it roll out near the 19-yard line. It is still the Stampeders with a big lead on the BC Lions at 21-5.
And 11.
Coming up on a year since the Calgary Stampeders last lost at home. That was the Labor Day game against the Edmonton Eskimos, and those losses a bitter pill to swallow for the Calgary Stampeders, looking for some revenge in the upcoming Labor Day contest this year. But Leaf, one thing of note about the Calgary defense, and one of the reasons Danny Barrett's having so much trouble with it, they are throwing literally every look they have at him tonight. They took everything out of the playbook, and they've thrown it at Danny Barrett tonight, so he's getting a lot of different looks out there.
I couldn't agree with you more, Gord. That 7 defensive back scheme on the last possession of the BC Lions seemed to really throw Danny Barrett off, and well, that's one of the features. I think the Calgary Stampeders have one of the best coaching staffs in the league, and each individual coach on their team does such a great job getting his particular people ready to play. In this case tonight, Don Southern, his secondary has just had a super night.
Dave Ritchie looking for some answers in his notes. It is 1st and 10. Stampeders beginning at the 19 after a superb punt by Lou Pasaglia. Flutie intended that for Keevan Jenkins. Little screen pass didn't quite work out. 9 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Last time the BC Lions beat the Calgary Stampeders, number 20 was the quarterback in British Columbia, wearing number 22. Doug Flutie is the last quarterback at the controls of the Lions when they beat Calgary.
I think Dave Ritchie feels a bit of an urgency here. He has a great opportunity to see his defense stop Calgary deep in their own territory and give his offense some pretty good field position. You know, they're only down by 16, certainly not very much.
This time it is picked off by the BC Lions. James West has the interception, and that pass looked to be intended for Dave Sapunjas.
Doug Flutie's pass is intercepted by number 50.
A couple of times tonight, Flutie's been able to feather the ball just over the top of James West into Sapunjas, but that time James West, to his credit, gets a much deeper drop. You're going to see it to the left of your screen, and with the surgery on his thumb, a little difficult to make the catch, but he's able to do so. There you see the cast on the right thumb, but what a huge break for the Lions, and the defense is forced to turnover. James West's first interception of the season.
Yeah, the second toss tonight by Doug Flutie. And only the 6th of the season, 4 turnovers by the Calgary Stampeders. Let's see what the Lions can do. Trevathan made the catch. He's well short of the first down, around the 25-yard line. Matt Finley made the tackle. It is a 4-yard gain.
With the catch in between Matt Finley and Marvin Pope.
Little clear out. Trevathan trying to come underneath. The idea here is to be able to catch the ball quickly and then try and pick up an extra few yards running the ball. But Matt Finley reacted so quickly, Trevathan had nowhere to go.
Marvin Pope is out there. 6 defensive backs in for the Stampeders. On 2nd and 7. Millington couldn't make the catch. He was in the clear.
Oh, Sean Millington had a terrific opportunity to beat a defense. Danny Barrett reads it perfectly. Here's Knox, who's come up from the middle. He's coming on the blitz, and Millington goes out here. There is nobody to pick him up, and you'll have a look at what Danny Barrett sees. Man, oh man, that's maybe a touchdown if he can hang on to the football. You only get so many opportunities in a game, and you really have to maximize and take advantage of them, and that is one that the BC Lions, when they look back on this game, are going to say, hey, I think we should have had a touchdown on that play.
31-yard field goal try by Lou Pasaglia. penalty marker is down.
The kick is wide and through the end zone. However, there are
Stampeders look to be offside. We'll wait and see the infraction here.
This is interesting. This will set up a long 3rd and 1. So for Dave Ritchie, decision, should he take the 3 points?
Offside, number 19 on the defense. It'll be 3rd down repeated.
It's Carl Anthony.
That'll make it 3rd down and 2 now for
3rd
BC.
and 2.
And it's at the
So does Ritchie
19-yard
change
line.
his thinking here and figure that he can pick up 2 yards and still have the opportunity to go for 6?
Well, I think maybe he's going to, and I really like the call at this point. You know, the offense has moved the ball pretty well, and I think Dave Ritchie is making a statement to you. Hey, I believe in you guys. I think you can do it. We trail by 16. It's a chance for us to make a move in this ball game, and I really do like the call.
7:19 to play, 3rd quarter. The BC Lions go gambling on 3rd and 2 at the Calgary 19. Philpott gets the call, gets a big hole. He's inside the 5. And now it is a brilliant call by Dave Ritchie. 15 yards for Philpott. And the Lions keep this drive alive.
I don't think Joe Paopao, the offensive coordinator, didn't have anything to say in this matter too, but you know, Ritchie's a player's coach. He made a statement. I believe in you guys. I think you can do it. Go ahead and get it, and good blocking along the right side. You've got Jim Mills, Leo Groenwagen, and lead block by Millington opens a nice hole for Philpott, and they keep this drive going.
1st and goal to go. The Lions are at the 4. Philpott gets the call and gets the touchdown. Corey Philpott. 2nd touchdown of the year. Along the ground, he has 3 receiving touchdowns.
So it seemed to be a good gamble by the BC Lions on a 3rd down play. They pick it up, and then, of course, it culminates with Corey Philpott. He cuts back, sees an open space, and fights off the tackle of Will Johnson, runs over Greg Knox, and the BC Lions have their 1st touchdown of the night, and they are back in this ball game.
Lou Pasaglia adds 1 more to the BC total.
Lou Pasaglia's convert is good. And the score.
And it's now a 9-point game.
The BC Lions.
All of a sudden, the Lions are right back in this with lots to go at McMahon in Calgary. 6:15 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Couple of key runs by Corey Philpott, and the BC Lions are right back in the game, trailing 21-12. Philpott, couple of yards on 3rd and 2, and then the touchdown here.
Nice cutback by Philpott right there, and he's able to go underneath the high tackle of Will Johnson into the end zone, and now it seems like a pretty astute move to put him into the lineup as their designated import tonight, and maybe in anticipation that John Volpe wasn't 100%, so Philpott gets to play. He gets the touchdown. There it is, 5 plays, 28 yards, and
that's after the turnover, the interception.
Interception by James West, and gamble on 3rd down, and Philpott ends up with the touchdown, and the BC Lions, to their credit, have fought their way back into this game, and boy, at least shifted that momentum back on, or to their side a little bit.
3 carries and 26 yards for Philpott, 1 for a touchdown. Lions averaged 43 points in their last 4 games, all victories. So we knew the offense had to be there somewhere. They'll need a few more to get right back into this game, though. Keevan Jenkins on the return. He's out across the 35 and stopped by Sean Jones.
Takes it out over the 35.
Quite a turnaround for the BC Lions from 92 to 93. A year ago, they were 0 for 8. Now they're 6 and 2, and in a battle for top spot on the West.
Well, it's certainly for so many reasons why they have changed the ownership. Danny Barrett talked about that. It's solid. The management is solid. Eric Tillman certainly brought in some interesting players, and Dave Ritchie has gone with a veteran group that he has gone with, and they played well for him.
Wiggins to the near side. On 1st and 10, Stampeders. Flutie got it away for Sapunjas. Sapunjas away from one tackle. And then brought down by Eddie Taylor, number 17. James West missed the first tackle on Dave Sapunjas. Some kind of night.
Little play action. Sapunjas just slow blocks and sneaks out into the flat, and James West is right there, but he simply overruns the play, and to his credit, he will get back up and get in on the tackle. We got to love James West. He came in and said, hey, we will beat this Calgary team. No ifs, ands, and buts. We're a good team, and you know, more often than not, he is able to support his big talk with the play on the field.
This is 2nd and 2, and not that time.
Hands to number 23, Keevan Jenkins.
Glenn Scribner.
A brick wall at the 45-yard
The stop
line.
on Keevan Jenkins, number 72, is Scribner.
And he comes up a fair bit short of the first down here, so Wally Buono will have to decide what he wants to do on 3rd down. They have the lead.
3rd and 1. Maybe a little better than 1 yard. We'll see where they spot the ball.
It's an interesting call for Buono. You know, BC has scored. He's seen a bit of a momentum shift in this game, and you want to give them the ball back quickly.
I think that's what he's deciding to do, because Martino is out on the field, number 11. And it's a little different gambling
Number 6 is back
at this point, or at this stage of the game, at this point of the field. Martino standing at his 32. Bad snap. Martino just got it away. It is a short kick bouncing down near the 42, but there will be a difficult play for Philpott and really nowhere to go. A 43-yard punt despite the bad snap.
The BC 23-yard line.
We invite you to stay tuned at the conclusion of today's game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you tonight by Armor All. There is a fountain of youth, and we own the patent.
When it's this hot, don't take chances. Only Armor All Protectant guarantees your new car's dash from cracking. There is a fountain of youth, and we guarantee it. Armor All.
Are first down. Danny Barrett has trouble with the direct snap. Stands up and fired for Lonnie Turner. And that combination has not worked very well tonight. Barrett to Lonnie Turner for some reason.
It was incomplete. 2nd down.
It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, the key is to try and get Lonnie Turner the football quickly on those hitch passes, and well, you're absolutely right. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's he is such a small target for Barrett, but they are about 0 for 4 on that particular play.
Douglas Kraft is in as the 6th defensive back for the Stampeders. Eric Johnson comes up. Lions are 2nd and 10. Barrett looks deep. Flutie makes the catch. And a big one in front of Kenton Leonard. Darren Flutie has had some big catches tonight. This is the biggest right here for 45 yards and a great move by Darren Flutie.
Yeah, pretty crafty receiver, and he's working on Kenton Leonard, who is playing his first game on the corner tonight, replacing Junior Thurman. A little stop and go. He gets Leonard to bite, and then he gets the inside position. That is a spectacular throw by Danny Barrett.
And a pretty wonderful catch by Darren Flutie. A 45-yard gain, and the Lions have an opportunity. 1st and 10 at the Calgary 42. Philpott, and not much running room for Corey Philpott that time. Sreko Zizakovic, number 96, was waiting
the ball carrier for the BC
Philpott.
line. He is hit hard at the 40-yard line.
Gain is 2.
The Stampeders, you look at the defensive line with the 2 Canadians playing at the tackle spots, Harold Hasselbeck and Sreko Zizakovic, both have an interception this year.
That's rather interesting, isn't it?
Hasselbeck got his in the first game of the season against Matt Dunnigan. Sreko Zizakovic, he is a tremendous athlete. He can run, catch, punt, long snap. He's the backup long snapper.
Doesn't he play the accordion too?
I'm not so sure about that.
2nd and 8. Barrett Looking deep into heavy coverage, Matt Clark. One of two receivers in the area. Gerald Vaughn might have tipped that ball, number 38.
Pretty tough struggle for Matt Clark downfield. A lot of contact with Gerald Vaughn being created and pushing and shoving, trying to get some position. At the end of it, it looked like Clark had a pretty good chance to catch that football, and I'm not sure that Vaughn maybe distracted him at the last second, but for Danny Barrett, I don't think you can ask him to throw any better a pass than he did right there. Good protection from his offensive line to see downfield, and Clark maybe should have had that one.
Lou Pasaglia tries a 47-yard field goal. His longest of the year is 48. And Lou is on target. So the Lions creep a little closer to the Calgary Stampeders. It is a 6-point ball game now at 21-15.
Well, you really get the feeling that the BC Lions have come here and come out in the third quarter and taken back the momentum of this game. And the one good thing that they have done offensively is move the ball well enough to keep it away from Doug Flutie, who has had a pretty good night.
Yeah, Flutie had a great second quarter. Almost 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Sapunjas has had a superb night as well. The Lions have roared back in the third quarter.
Well, that's the storyline from the first half, but the story has been Danny Barrett in the second half here, coming up with 10 points in the third quarter. They have fought their way back, and Wally Wano, no one knows better than him that when a game shifts in momentum, somehow, some way, you have to try and get it back in your favor, and Doug Flutie will try and do that on this next possession.
A minute 56 to go, third quarter at McMahon in Calgary. Lions don't kick it deep. This is Wiggins. And he slips right along the 35, lost a yard on the return. Met by Doug Hocking, number 90 for the BC Lions. Let's bring in Gord Miller.
Update from Taylor Field in Regina. Jim Crouch, the beleaguered field goal kicker for the Sacramento Gold Miners, hits from 22 yards out. And Sacramento pads its lead a little bit now in the third quarter, leading by a count of 20-10.
Boy, John, look at all the people around Taylor Field there. Apparently over 30,000 there tonight watching the Sacramento Gold Miners in their first trip into Taylor Field. Nice to see a big crowd there.
Reminiscent from a long time ago when they sat along the sidelines at Taylor Field. I had a seat down there once when I was quite a bit younger.
Was that the Knothole gang? No, that was
what we call
that was
sideline gang.
Yeah. Producer Paul Graham tells me that the Knothole gang was, in fact, in Edmonton. Where were you
in a lot of other places. I went down with a group from Winnipeg when I think I was somewhere around 10 or 11 and sat on the sidelines there. Tickets were, I think, 50 cents a piece.
Second down and 10 after 34.
Second and 10, Stampeders. Flutie gets some pressure now. Away from the first wave, and now fires well off the mark and out of bounds.
Away from the rush and attendance for Brian Wiggins on the sideline. Incomplete.
Scrivener and McCready supplying a little pressure on their former teammate.
And Glenn Scrivener has really been a bright spot for the defense of the BC Lions. Watch here, he's working on Bruce Covington, and he goes upfield and then gets that swim move back underneath. And although he does not get the sack on Doug Flutie, watch the nice swim technique to the inside, and he gets just enough pressure to delay the pass pattern downfield, and by the time Flutie can throw, he just has to simply get rid of it. But Glenn Scrivener is a guy that has worked hard to become a better football player, and this year he has 4 sacks and has become one of the best defensive linemen that the BC Lions have. There, another look from ground level, and Bruce Covington actually is the injured ball player after that play.
Stampeders had 21 points in the second quarter. The BC Lions have scored most of their points here in the third with 1:10 remaining. It's 21-15. Covington is up in his second year in the CFL. He was an outstanding rookie last year for the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, if you want an interesting statistic on him, he's never missed a game now in 2 years for the Stampeders.
Tony Martino,
he's never been called for holding penalty. We talked about that last week.
Yeah,
we did Calgary and Hamilton, but it's certainly worth repeating.
Martino for the Stampeders. standing on his 20. Corey Philpott hangs on to this one. Penalty markers are down, and Philpott squirts away. He's tough to bring down. He's to the 45. An 11-yard return. Douglas Kraft was in the area. So the Lions will get a little yardage tacked onto the return by Corey Philpott.
Well, it's interesting, you know, Darren Flutie, as he was blocking, you know, pushed number 3 Douglas Kraft into Corey Philpott, and wondering how the receivers will, in fact, or the officials rather, will sort this out.
There's no infraction on the play. First out.
Yeah, I think that's a good call by the officials. You're going to see right here. There's Flutie on Douglas Kraft, and watch as Philpott is going to make the catch. Flutie pushes him into it, and he can't avoid the no yard. So the officials got together, sorted it out, and I think they made a very intelligent call on that.
Absolutely right. It'll be first down.
Actually, they could have called Flutie for blocking from the rear, or at least illegal use of hands.
First and 10.
Lions are at the 45. Good fake by Barrett. Now the pressure comes. Barrett jumps and throws.
Danny Barrett.
And I'm not so sure who the intended receiver was.
Nobody.
Philpott was in the area, but barely.
Yeah, both these quarterbacks are really good at not beating themselves. And Danny Barrett said, hey, this play is going nowhere. I'm going to throw this ball where nobody can catch it. And the worst we have is 2nd and 10. There, now he knows it's over. And he's looking for a nice, safe green spot to land that ball into.
32 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
Second down and 10, DC.
Lions from the 45. 2nd and 10. Barrett pumps once and has a man wide open. It's Lonnie Turner. He has the catch inside the 20. Kenton Leonard in his first game on the corner, replacing Junior Thurman. A 47-yard gain, and that combination finally works. We talked about Barrett to Turner having some problems earlier.
Okay, let it go. We're going to show you the move here. The out and up. Okay, stop it right here. There's the out. Watch the up. Leonard bites. He bites on it right there, and he is dead in the water. Darren Flutie hit him with the stop and go, and now Lonnie Turner with the out and up, and the BC Lions have really had a tremendous resurgence here in the third quarter.
Yeah, when you said dead in the water, there was a little rooster tail of water in behind Kenton Leonard there. So a big 47-yard gain sets the Lions up. 1st and 10 at the BC 18. Barrett has time, throwing over the middle, and complete to Matt Clark at the 7. That is the final play of the third quarter, and the BC Lions ready to charge into the lead if they can get to the end zone in this next sequence. Fourth quarter coming up. Calgary in the lead at 21-15. Ready for the fourth quarter. It's been a rather interesting football game. Very little scoring in the opening quarter. The BC Lions scored 3 times in the second quarter to take the lead at 21-4 at halftime. For the Stampeders, 21-4 at halftime. Now the Lions are pouring it on third quarter, and we begin the fourth. Here's Barrett getting some pressure, looking to the end zone. Into the corner, and no catch. Darren Flutie was the intended receiver. And he ran out of room.
But he's out of bounds. It's 2nd and goal.
Well, it was a nice catch, but he just could not keep the feet in bounds. Yeah, as he takes possession of the football, no question he is out. Nice catch, though.
Second and goal to go. The Lions at the Stampeders 7. From the shotgun on the corner, touchdown. Darren Flutie, number 82. And the Lions have the lead. Flutie in front of Kenton Leonard. Give Danny Barrett a lot of credit for this comeback.
Well, watch the move by Flutie. He's got the hips turned of Kenton Leonard, and Leonard refusing to come up and play tight bump and run coverage down in the goal line. And Doug Flutie recognizes that, and so did Barrett, and they hit the out in the corner of the end zone for the touchdown. And the BC Lions have really fought their way back into this one, and they have a chance to finally take the lead in this game.
Bassaglia adds the extra points, and the Lions are into the lead at 22-21. Lots more to go. 14:04 to play, fourth quarter.
What I want to show on this one is the alignment of Kenton Leonard right there. See his hips, he's facing inside. So what Doug Flutie will do is he'll take him up there, and when Leonard moves that way, he's going to cut back out to the corner. Pretty good technique by Darren Flutie, and you see there are the hips. They're turned to Kenton Leonard's. He just can't do a speed turn quickly enough to get out to Flutie, and Barrett sees it, hits it with the perfect strike, and wow, BC Lions, give them credit. They have really worked themselves back into this ball game, and they didn't get down. They didn't get despondent when Flutie had a good second quarter. They just came out and sucked it up here in the second half, and have played awesome.
BC Lions with a record of 6-2. The Stampeders are 8-0. The Lions have won 4 in a row. This is Wiggins on the return for Calgary. Little room on the far side. And he's forced out near the 45. 5 plays to cover 65 yards in 1:48. Darren Flutie. And that's his first touchdown reception of the season.
John, there's so many keys in a game. You know, you look at the third quarter for Doug Flutie after having such a good second quarter. In the third, 4 possessions, 3 punts, and interceptions. So, hey, that allowed the BC Lions the opportunity to get back into this one.
The Lions have made some adjustments on defense. Here's Keevan Jenkins, and there's nowhere for Keevan to run. Gordon?
You're absolutely right about the adjustments, John. Dave Ritchie, known as a player's coach, and his players went to him at halftime and said, let us go after the quarterback. Most teams don't do it because Flutie's so elusive, but led by Ty Jones, they said, give us a chance and we'll nail him down. And so they've been bringing more people instead of bringing in more defensive backs.
Loss of 7 yards on the play.
Substantial loss. Make it 7 yards, 2nd and 17. Big play for Doug Flutie here from the 39. Here comes the charge. Flutie releases for Keevan Jenkins. He has some open field, and he has the first down, I believe. Zach Allen, number 44, finally over to make the tackle. And a great run by Keevan Jenkins after taking the screen pass.
And a nice call by Doug Flutie. He's anticipating his own coverage where the linebackers are really trying to get a deep drop, and that happens, and dumps it off to Keevan. Good block by Todd Storm on West right there, and that allows Keevan Jenkins the extra room to pick up what might be a first down.
Keevan took 2 pretty good hits.
Well, he's nursing some sore ribs. He got those in Hamilton last week from the Tiger Cats, but he comes up just a tiny bit short, and I'm pretty sure that Wally Buono will decide to gamble on this one.
This is definitely a gambling situation. Stampeders at midfield, and less than a yard to go. It's a matter of inches now.
That was a great second down call by John Huffnagel from the sidelines, anticipating a deep drop and dumping the screen underneath it.
Lions have the lead by a point. Stampeders need a first down, and Doug Flutie delivers.
He's got enough.
Kind of a chess match out there with these 2 quarterbacks going at it. You talked about Pow and Huffnagel working on opposite sides of the field. Pow with the BC Lions, former CFL quarterback. Huffnagel, a former quarterback in several areas of Canadian football.
Well, they study the tendencies of both defenses, and they, work out a game plan where they think there's certain plays at certain times that will work. And, for the most part tonight, they're having some pretty good success.
From the 54, Flutie on first down. Has Wiggins wide open. And Wiggins gets away from Flutie. Down to the 1-yard line. 52 yards. Brian Wiggins was wide open. Bruce Plummer got up to save the touchdown. 52 yards, and that's lots to smile about in Calgary.
Yeah, nice protection for Doug Flutie, too. Look how much time he has to just look downfield, and Brian Wiggins is able to find a soft spot in the zone. Sean Flutie comes over, cannot make the tackle, and Brian Wiggins makes the catch and gets it down to the 1-yard line. So Doug Flutie is fighting his team back into this game.
From the 1, Zach Allen on Keevan Jenkins. No touchdown.
James West got the first lick in and looks to have kept Jenkins out of the end zone.
So it'll be 2nd and goal to go from the 1. Big stand by the BC Lions. Flutie heads back to the huddle after a little meeting on the sidelines. 10:52 to go in the 4th quarter. It's a 1-point ball game. Second crack at it for the Stampeders from the 1. Flutie tries himself, but he's in for the touchdown. 7th touchdown of the year for Doug Flutie. And he is the only Stampeder to score a rushing touchdown this season.
And it didn't take him long to answer the scoring drive of the BC Lions, and Doug Flutie comes right back with one of his own. Big reception by Brian Wiggins, set it up, and Doug Flutie, his 7th TD, as John told you, and just kind of sneaks in behind Rocco Romano, ducks his head down, and is able to get in underneath James West.
Stampeders into the lead, 27-22.
And 5 points means nothing, so the Stampeders will go for the 2-point convert.
Flutie, shotgun, and he gets it. Derek Crawford, number 83. Little sidearm toss, and Flutie put it right on the money.
Pretty good matchup here on the 2-point play. They've got Derek Crawford on James West inside, and Crawford is the 3rd receiver. It's no contest. He's able to get inside James West quickly, make the catch, and squirm into the end zone for the 2-pointer. So the Calgary Stampeders answer quickly and have a 7-point lead.
29-22, Calgary. 10:17 to go, 4th quarter. There's a lot more ahead.
1993 Calgary
Stampeders have regained the lead. It's 29-22. BC a touchdown behind.
Yeah, let's go back to the 2-point conversion, and we'll see the matchups that Calgary get. There's so much in their favor. Let it roll just a little bit, and we're going to stop it. Okay, stop it right there. Hey, there's Derek Crawford. Here's James West. I mean, that's tough. He works his position and gets inside, and, you know, that's a decent matchup. A wide receiver on a linebacker. James West is a great linebacker, but that's a lot to ask of him. So the Stampeders using their formation so effectively against BC tonight. Gord?
Hello, Gord.
Yeah, hi, fellas. Like a lot of people here, Wally Buono saw last night's game and all picked us up after the kickoff.
Here's Philpott on the return for the BC Lions. Stopped at the 30.
Yeah, just to finish the thought, guys, Wally Buono saw last night's Toronto-Ottawa game and saw the difference being Toronto's inability to score the 2-point convert after they'd gone ahead. It ended up costing them the game. Buono took a look at the score clock, said the difference between being up 6 and 5 is nothing. Go for 2. Great call by Wally.
A rather impressive scoring drive by Doug Flutie. 6 plays, 64 yards, a 52-yard toss to Brian Wiggins. Got the Stampeders down to the 1, and from there, it was Flutie himself. 1st and 10, Lions. Draw play, Philpott.
Philpott, the ball carrier,
out near the 35.
Ahead for a gain of almost 5.
Eric Johnson, number 84, made the stop.
Eric Johnson.
5 yards the game. Stampeders lead by a touchdown. Danny Barrett has been very effective for the BC Lions in the second half. Let's see if he can answer Flutie's drive.
Second down, long 5.
Second and 5, BC near the 35. Trevathan. That'll be a first down. Stopped by Ken Watson. 8 yards the gain.
Ken Watson coming up to make the tackle, but it is a BC Lions first down.
Nice ball control through the passing game for Danny Barrett. Calgary Stampeders are using 6 defensive backs, and that situation they had Watson up close on Trevathan and picking him up deep if he goes over the top, and Watson just a little too slow getting up there. Trevathan gets the first down.
Trevathan's third catch for 25 yards on the night. First and 10 Lions, 43. Good fake by Barrett. Time to throw. He gets it away, looking deep for Flutie, and it's almost picked off. Ken Watson had an opportunity playing left field out there.
An incompletion, second down, BC.
You know, they were trying to hit Flutie on the bootleg action, Darren Flutie, and they were expecting to get some man-to-man coverage on first down, but when they zone, Kenton Leonard stays up short and Watson picks him up deep. The play is really dead, and actually Danny Barrett's trying to throw this one away, but he just didn't anticipate Watson being able to get to it. Kenny Watson makes a nice effort here to try and come up with the interception, but I'm sure Danny Barrett was just trying to simply throw this away from everybody, and Watson just made a pretty good effort.
Second and 10 Lions.
6 defensive backs in for the Stampeders on second and 10. Barrett seemed a little flat-footed. Now Trevathan makes the catch. Big first down for the Lions up near the Calgary 40. Greg Knox over to make the tackle with Douglas Kraft. 25 yards the gain for Mike Trevathan.
And number 8, Greg Knox.
And the BC Lions beat a pretty tough secondary. They only rushed 3 people here on Danny Barrett. Sresso Zigzakovic actually gets some pretty decent pressure, but Barrett steps up, finds Trevathan, and on that particular occasion, they beat the 7 defensive back secondary of the Stampeders.
First and 10. Lions at the 42 of Calgary. Philpott, and there's nowhere to go, but he squirted to the outside. Running into Pope.
Flips away from Marvin Pope, gets an extra yard.
7:28 to go. Stampeders have the lead by a touchdown at 29-22.
95.
Gain of 3. This will be second and 7.
Gain of 3 yards for Corey Philpott. It's second down and 7. BC at the Calgary 39.
Flutie to the near side. Lonnie Turner to the far side of the field as the wide receivers. Barrett stands in. Trevathan made the catch, and I think he's short of the first down.
Does not get to the marker.
Gain of 5. He needed 7.
Yeah, once again now an interesting decision by Dave Ritchie. He gambled earlier. This one is a little bit longer, and a good 1.5 yards short of the first down. Mike Trevathan just could not stay in bounds and stretch out and get that extra little bit of yardage, but
I think a slightly different decision at this point of the game. When he gambled earlier, he was really trying to get his football team back into the game. Now he's very much in it, trailing by 7 points. Take the 3 at this stage. Bisaglia is wide. Stampeders concede the single points. And overall, that could turn out to be important as well. 6:30 to go in the 4th quarter from McMahon in Calgary. CFL Live.
At Taylor Field tonight, Saskatchewan trailing Sacramento. Ken Austin from the 19-yard line looks to the end zone and finds Donald Narcisse. Narcisse comes back to the ball and then plays to the gigantic crowd at Taylor Field. Dave Ridgway later added a field goal. Sacramento's lead now 23-20 midway through the 4th quarter.
And we'll keep you posted on that one. So terrific to see a full house at Taylor Field in Regina. First sellout of the season anywhere in Canadian football. They've got a pretty good ball game going at McMahon in Calgary. 6:30 to play. The Stampeders lead the Lions by 6. It's 29-23. And Doug Flutie has the football back for Calgary. Stampeders first down at the 35. Flutie has time, far side, man open, on target. Derek Crawford made the catch. Forced out by Eddie Taylor. Flutie has used the long bomb effectively. 55 yards to that man, Derek Crawford this time.
And Crawford sneaks in behind Les Brown, one of the cagier corners in the league, and Doug Flutie right on target here. And boy, they make it look so easy, don't they, John?
Earlier, a long bomb to Wiggins all the way down to the 1-yard line. Somewhere around 50 yards on that toss, too, by Flutie. Crawford's fourth catch. He has 96 yards on the night and sets Calgary up at the 20. This is Dave Sapunjas, the catch, and he got up. He's inside the 10. Stopped by Derek McCready, number 79. 5:42 in the fourth quarter. Stampeders threatening to add to a 6-point lead.
And the Stampeder offense spreads out the defense so well that when Sapunjas can catch a short pass like that, if he can beat his man initially, as he does Eddie Taylor there, he has lots of room to run and pick up that first down. He's a little bit short there, but boy, that's what stretching out the defense from sideline to sideline will do.
Yeah, not much short. Second down, less than a yard to go for the Stampeders. And they'll get the first down there and have 3 cracks at the touchdown from around the 9. Flutie has been masterful in the fourth quarter. Also very hot in the second quarter. Danny Barrett put on a show for the BC Lions in the third. It is 29-23. Calgary leading BC. 4:47 to play. Stampeders are first and goal to go, and the ball is spotted right on the 10-yard line. Flutie gets some pressure. Will Moore looked to be the closest Stampeder to the football, number 82.
James West got in with some pretty good pressure there and maybe forced Flutie to throw the ball away and intended for Will Moore. But this is where the Calgary Stampeders are so good. One of the reasons why they are undefeated after 8 games. Late in the fourth quarter, they are able to take control of games, and when they have an opponent on the rails, they are able to put them away, as they have the possibility to do right here.
Pee Wee Smith into the ball game as a 5th receiver. The Stampeders have 4 to the right side. Flutie back in a hurry, looking across field. And off target, Will Moore, number 82.
Flutie's pass intended for 82, Will Moore, just out of his reach. Third down.
Moore was Flutie's target that time.
Well, Doug Flutie accomplished what he wanted to do on that drive. They were ahead by 6, and now at least with Mark McLaughlin coming into the game, they have the ability to go ahead by 9 points here, and that really does make a big difference with just a little over 4 minutes remaining.
Maybe Flutie didn't quite accomplish what he wanted to do there. He's a little angry as he heads to the sideline.
Well, maybe so, but the good news is for him, they will be able to add to their lead and force the BC Lions to score at least twice.
Yeah, it's a 9-point lead now on McLaughlin's field goal, and 32-23. The Stampeders lead the British Columbia Lions. Calgary trying to make it 9 straight wins. From McMahon, CFL Live. With last week's win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Wally Buono became the all-time winningest coach in Calgary Stampeder history. 47 victories coming into tonight's game, surpassing Jerry Williams.
Matt! What do you want, Wally? Anything? If it's fast, then I try to get the end out.
Crispy Crunch, Canada's favorite chocolate bar, and proud sponsor of the Stampeders' Crunch of the game. Experience the domino effect. Domino's.
3:50 to play, fourth quarter.
In Calgary.
Stampeders by 9.
Listen to Calgary Stampeders play-by-play action every home and away game exclusively on QR.
Dave Ritchie trying to find a way for his BC Lions to make it 5 straight victories. They have won 4 in a row rather impressively.
Shows at 12 o'clock with the game at 1 o'clock.
Averaging 43 points in their last 4 victories to improve to 6-2. Lions are first down. Beginning at the 35 after McLaughlin's field goal.
35.
Barrett tries the out to Trevathan.
Barrett's pass.
Anthony was covering.
Mike Trevathan, incomplete.
Well, for Danny Barrett now, the task is pretty difficult. 3:41 remaining, and he has to get 2 scores. Obviously, you'd like to get the touchdown on the first one if you can, and then hope somehow you can get the ball back and work your way down for another field goal. But the task at hand now is a 2nd and 10, and
second down and 10.
You know that Calgary defense is going to try and squeeze down those lanes on the zone.
Shotgun, Barrett, 2nd and 10. In trouble, got away from one Stampeder and almost had it intercepted by Kenton Leonard. Zizakovic applying the pressure to Danny Barrett.
Pretty nice move by Sireko Zizakovic, working on 62 Vic Stevenson, and Sireko looks like he's been shot out of a cannon here. Just a quick speed move to the outside and slaps Stevenson's shoulder away, and then does not get the sack, but certainly throws the timing off enough of Danny Barrett that he eventually threw the ball away. But boy, you love to see that in a defensive lineman. I mean, he is going harder right now near the end of the game than he did early in the game.
Yeah.
And that is a very, very nice sign for Sireko Zizakovic.
3rd and 10. Lions forced to kick it away with 3:08 to play. They fake it. And the turnover goes against the BC Lions. Ryan Hansen on the fake. And this gamble did not pay off. That could be the ball game.
Now a direct snap to Ryan Hansen, the up back on the left right there, and they're hoping O.J. Brigance can lead him up through the hole, but Matt Finley reads it perfectly, and don't think the Calgary Stampeder return team was talking about that on the field, and they had it diagnosed perfectly.
2nd turnover of the night for the BC Lions, and it could be costly. Well, the couple of games on the line. Here's how it looks right now in Canadian football's Western Division. The Stampeders 8-0, BC 6-2. Saskatchewan in danger, trailing Sacramento by 3 points late in the 4th quarter. And the Calgary Stampeders fans looking for win number 9.
When you look at those standings too, you have to think about the Edmonton Eskimos. They have bounced back with 2 solid wins in a row, with Damon Allen going into Toronto, playing well there against Skydome, and then of course earlier this week defeating the Hamilton Tiger Cats pretty soundly 46-8. So they are making a bit of a run.
Stampeder owner Larry Rickman down on the sidelines.
Okay,
pretty successful as the owner of the Stampeders. Grey Cup last year.
Stampeders take over on down. First down at the BC 38.
Stampeders have the ball right back, and it's up to the Lions defense to get it back for Danny Barrett now. Andy McVeigh.
Doug Flutie with that little screen pass.
Little throw pass from Flutie to Andy McVeigh.
Makes pretty good yardage.
Glenn Scribner making the tackle. 2:38 to go.
Tackled by 72, Glenn Scribner.
Well, what the BC Lion defense has to try and do now is desperately create a turnover, stripping a ball loose on Keevan Jenkins if he's carrying it, or if a receiver catches it, simply go for the football and try and create a turnover any way they can.
Flutie has passed for over 430 yards. Here comes the pressure now. Flutie away from the first BC Lion. Now working on Scribner. Down the sidelines and well out of bounds. Keevan Jenkins was the intended receiver.
3rd down.
32-23. Stampeders have the lead with 2:12 to go. 3rd and 4.
O.J. Brigance doesn't quite get there, but at least he forces Flutie to throw it away, and now the BC Lions will get the ball back. The bad news is Mark McLaughlin's in for another field goal try.
Mark McLaughlin's back on the field. He'll try a 40-yard field goal.
Ball spotted at the 39. McLaughlin is good.
And it is good.
2:09 to go. And the BC Lions trail by 12 to the Calgary Stampeders.
Okay. Well, the crowd here in Calgary is loving it, and so is the crowd in Regina. Dave Ridgway from 46 yards out. And Ridgway puts it through to tie the game at 23. Bedlam in Regina, and a tie game between the Riders and the Gold Mine.
That game very much in doubt. It's not quite the same at McMahon in Calgary. 2:09 to go. And Danny Barrett has to engineer 2 touchdown drives to get the Lions into the win column tonight.
Barrett's pass is complete. At the 45.
Lonnie Turner makes the catch at the 45.
Carl Anthony, number 19.
2:03 to go. It's 35-23. Calgary leading BC.
Gain of 11 and a BC first down.
Lions first down on an 11-yard gain. Now 1:59 to go. Time ticking away on Danny Barrett. Turner again. He'll have another first down across midfield in front of Kenton Leonard. 11 yards one more time. 2 in a row for Lonnie Turner.
And the Calgary secondary will be very content to just keep all the receivers of the BC Lions in front of them. Let them make the catches if the balls are on target, but make sure nobody gets in behind them.
At the 53. Barrett sprinting to his left, and he's forced out of bounds.
The ball carrier from BC gets to the sideline.
Zizakovic again, number 96, solid game. Gain of a couple. 1:31 left on the clock.
Well, John, it really has been interesting, the flow of this football game. Calgary jumped out with a nice lead in the second quarter, 21-4, and then BC owned the third quarter, where they came back and early in the fourth actually did lead at 1 point by 1 point, but then Doug Flutie hit a couple of big plays and put his team back in the lead, and it looks as though they are in a pretty comfortable spot.
Second down, 1:31 to go. BC at the Calgary 50.
Barrett on second down. Sean Millington stopped short of the first by Marvin Pope.
But he is caught from behind by the Pope.
You talk about key additions to this Calgary team. Late last year, Marvin Pope was inserted into the middle, and Alondra Johnson was moved to the outside linebacking spot. And I think at that point in their season, that was the last piece of the puzzle to make this a championship football team. And starting this year in the first 9 games, Marvin Pope has been outstanding, patrolling that middle linebacking spot.
Stampeders have only lost 1 game with Marvin Pope in the middle. Of course, they're on a pretty good run right now, looking for their 12th straight victory here tonight, going back to last year. Clark the catch.
Is caught by number 85, Matt Clark. Again,
Pope to stop.
Marvin Pope is there.
Now 1:11 to go.
First down, BC.
Lions are first down inside the Stampeder 40. Gain of 6 yards in the previous play. Barrett looking deep. He needs the touchdown. Flutie can't come down with it, but he draws a flag. Carl Anthony covering on Darren Flutie. 1:01 to go. Lions are not quite finished yet.
Intentional forward pass interference. Number 19 on the defense. First down.
Well, it looks as though Flutie's open initially, but Anthony knows he has lots of time to recover to the football, and unfortunately for him, he just creates some contact, and the officials call it intentional, so that means it will be placed at the spot of the infraction.
40 yards. The gain by the BC Lions on the penalty. First and goal to go. Stampeders 5-yard line. .101 remaining. Stampeders lead 35-23. Lions have to get to the end zone twice. From the 5. Barrett hands off to Philpott. Well read by the Stampeder defense. Harold Hasselbach, number 95, head-to-head with Corey Philpott. Less than a minute to go now.
Harold Hasselbach, number 95, leading the charge on the Stampeder defense.
Philpott, 7 carries for 37 yards and a touchdown.
Well, for the BC Lions, they can't afford to get into any battles here. What they have to do is try and score. And they certainly have the ability to recover an onside kick. So although they trail by 12, I mean, the game is not over. The lights are not totally off here for the Lions. They still have an opportunity.
Second and goal to go. The Lions at the Stampeder 4-yard line. Barrett, touchdown. Darren Flutie. 40 seconds on the clock. Flutie beating Carl Anthony for a 4-yard touchdown. Second of the night. And only the second of the season for Darren Flutie.
And watch the left arm of Flutie. They create some contact, and he just gets a little push right there on Anthony. He goes down, and he's able to come up with the touchdown catch. And, well, another great CFL finish. You know they're going to go for the onside kick here. 40 seconds to go. They are making this one an interesting finish.
Yeah, 35-29 as it stands right now. Luke Busaglia to add the extra point. Now a 5-point ball game. 35-30.
The BC Lions, 30.
So now the Stampeders will huddle quickly and put in their hands team to try and counteract, obviously, an onside attempt by the BC Lions.
And Wally's not expecting that at all, I'm sure, huh?
Well, stranger things have happened, and if Lou Pasaglia can hit the perfect kick, and usually what you do on these, if he does loft it to one side or the other, is to try and designate one cover guy that's going to try and retrieve the football, and 2 or 3 other guys just pick out a Calgary player and knock him out of the way and try and create an opportunity for someone to catch it on the fly.
5 points separating the Stampeders and the Lions, with Calgary in the lead, 35-30. 40 seconds on the clock.
The Calgary Stampeders will have 10 men up near Lou Pasaglia, who are used to handling the football. This is pretty much the ball game right here.
It's on the line right now for the BC Lions.
My favorite play in football, right here, the onside kick. Love it.
It's jump ball time from the 35.
Lou Pasaglia has done this a time or two in his 18-year CFL career. It goes 10 yards, and the Calgary Stampeders can't come up with the ball initially, and then they do.
Interesting, Luke Pasaglia tried to pooch that ball along the ground, and McVeigh looked like he had an initial shot at it, but the ball squirted loose, and Stampeders do a nice job to recover that football, and that'll just about do it.
I think Marvin Pope, number 91, came up with the ball. BC Lions. Seconds away from their first loss in 4 games.
On 1st and 10, Evan Jenkins takes the handoff and plunges ahead for about 4
Jenkins
yards.
for a couple of yards with 35 seconds to go.
22-shot Flutie over 56 games west. Lions
have called a timeout. Try and hang on to a slim chance of getting the football back.
There's Junior Thurman on the sidelines, and of course he ruptured the Achilles tendon last week and will not be back this season. Gord, what's happening in Regina?
Last play of the ball game, Leaf. Dave Ridgway from 30 yards out. Bit of a bad snap to holder Glenn Suter, but he got it down. Ridgway put it through, and Saskatchewan wins it 26-23.
I wonder if there'll be a party at Bartleby's tonight.
I'd say there'll be a party in the entire city of Regina tonight with that dramatic last play win by the hometown Riders.
Flutie running around and wasting some seconds on the clock. Finally brought down near the 45.
Doug Flutie covers a lot of ground to get about 3 yards.
Well, obviously the intent to try and run off as much time on the clock as he can. There still are 24 seconds remaining. So this will be third down, and the Stampeders cannot totally kill the clock here.
Next on the CFL Live, we'll catch those Sacramento Gold Miners against the Eskimos at Commonwealth next Thursday. 9:30 Eastern is the kickoff time for that one. And a tough loss for Sacramento after having the lead in Saskatchewan tonight, but the Rough Riders, Dave Ridgway, coming through with a game-winning field goal.
Second time in the season that those two teams, Sacramento and Edmonton, will meet. Edmonton won the first game in Sacramento quite convincingly a few weeks ago, and they are on a roll. Sacramento is not. We'll have it for you Thursday night. CFL Live.
Some confusion down there as the Stampeders try and get a timeout. The Stampeders leading the BC Lions on the clock. 3 seconds remaining.
There's no infraction on the play. Calgary called a timeout. Timer, please take the clock to 23 seconds. 24 seconds.
They make it 24 seconds, adding 20 back. Third and 6, Stampeders.
Well, I haven't put any time back on the scoreboard.
But he did say 24 seconds, didn't he? Currently 4 seconds remaining. Look at Taylor Field. They put 31,000 in the ballpark, and everyone's on the field. Confused by the announcement.
I thought he said put it back to 23 seconds. When the clock started, the Calgary Stampeders decided to call a timeout. It is third down. They cannot kill the clock totally, and we'll just have to wait and see what exactly they end up putting back on the clock.
It is 24 seconds on the clock as of right now.
But I think what Doug Flutie wanted to do was to try and let the clock run down and call a timeout just before the 20-second clock to put the ball into play would expire, but somehow they fouled that up, and it is third down. And one way or another, the BC Lions will probably get the ball back.
A 5-point game. Stampeders have the lead, and now the clock has spun down to 4 seconds. So now the Stampeders will have the opportunity to run the final 4 seconds off the clock. Flutie straight back. The clock is ticking down. Flutie has it to 0-0 as he slides safely to the 40-yard line. And a little confusion at the end of the game about a Calgary Stampeder timeout, but in fact there were only 4 seconds remaining, and Doug Flutie and the Calgary Stampeders are unbeaten in 9 games with this victory over the BC Lions.
Time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you tonight by Armor All. It comes when Doug Flutie finds Brian Wiggins for this 51-yard gain. Takes it all the way down the 1-yard line. Doug Flutie then scored the go-ahead touchdown for the Calgary Stampeders. Wiggins' catch is tonight's TSN turning point. A cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association of Canada for the training and development of coaches in amateur sport. On behalf of TSN and Armor All, there is a fountain of youth, and we own the patent. Armor All protected. So the Calgary Stampeders go to 9-0, and we'll be back with more from McMahon Stadium in Calgary in just a moment. The CFL Live on TSN. Tonight's game has been brought to you by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And by Mark's Work Warehouse, clothes that work. Next week, we go to Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, where the Eskimos will take on the Sacramento Gold Miners, who lost in the last second tonight. For all of us at TSN, I'm Gord Miller. So long from Calgary.